If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. And therefore, all you'll have to talk about is your own conversation. The same is true for people who think all the time. That means, when I use the word think, talking to yourself, subvocal conversation, the constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull. Now, if you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking. And just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, you have to stop thinking to find out what life is about. And the moment you stop thinking, you become into immediate contact with the unspeakable world. The force of liberation will blow the world to pieces.
Firefly has been fighting for this day for a long time, and we're finally here, launch day. This is an exciting day for Firefly Aerospace, as we're about to conduct our very first test launch. But getting here has not been easy. If you followed our story for a while, you know that we've had to overcome a lot of obstacles and major setbacks to get here. Max Polyakov, a few friends, family, and I started Firefly about 4 years ago. Since then, it's been a non-stop technical and financial adrenaline rush. Rockets are the most challenging of machines to develop, and it takes a lot of money. But our passion launch vehicle ever built. We've engineered almost every part from scratch using the best modern technology. It is the world's largest all-carbon fiber structure rocket and is propelled by Firefly's innovative, patented rocket engine technology. Over the past several years, we've built and ground-tested a lot of hardware, leading up to the fully flight-qualified vehicle that now awaits first flight on the launch pad. Many people have asked me what to expect today. What's the probability of success? To be clear, the rocket on the pad is built to deliver its payload to orbit, 300 kilometers above the Earth. And my expectation is that it will do exactly that. Everything we've done, from ground testing to computer models, tells us that this vehicle is capable of reaching orbit. Having said that, it's a test flight. There are aspects of liftoff and flight that we can't fully test on the ground. Our computer models need flight test data to be more accurate. So success today means getting as much data as possible to improve our computer models and other design assumptions. I think the most gratifying part of today is recognizing how far this team has come. Firefly has an incredibly talented and hardworking team that has really gelled and come together over the past few years. We have a team capable of solving very difficult problems, persevering through setbacks, and following through to completion. In short, the Firefly team gets things done. We'd especially like to thank our partners at Space Launch Delta 30 and everyone at Vandenberg Space Force Base who supports launches from the Western Range. I feel incredibly fortunate today as we head to the launch control room, attempt our first space flight mission, and take a major step forward as a company. Godspeed, Firefly.
Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to a really, really exciting launch, a launch that I've been waiting for a very, very long time. I am surprisingly somehow your official host for tonight's attempt for Firefly with their Alpha rocket. This is actually a really, really big deal for me. I've been talking with Firefly for basically the entire year as to how can we stream your rocket together. And the coolest thing to me is that they came back to me, they reached out to me and we've been kind of communicating, trying to figure this out. But my favorite thing is they said, Tim, we just want you to do what you normally do. And we want you to just share a rocket with the world. And their level of transparency has been incredible. So I'm really, really excited to let you know that we're running the show here and we get to kind of just do what we normally do, which is a huge testament to Firefly. So thank you, Firefly, for trusting us with this launch, trusting us with this stream, which we know may be having some issues as we speak, actually. That's probably part of the problem of trying to do things between different parts of the world at all at the same time. But the cool thing is right now, as we speak, we do have a rocket on the pad getting ready to launch. So let's do what we always do with every time we get ready for a stream, because anytime you have any question about rockets and rocket launching, we have a solution on our website at everydayastronaut.com. You can click on upcoming launches and you can click on our pre-launch previews. And today, if you check out our pre-launch preview for this particular launch, you will see the Firefly FLT A001/Dream. This is the Alpha launch. So let's go ahead and run you through this today. So starting as far as their launch window, as you see in our countdown clock in the top right-hand portion of your screen, we are sitting at T-minus 50 minutes. That's today on September 2nd here in the United States. This will be September 3rd for those of you east of us. The launch window begins at 1 UTC and goes through 5 UTC. So they do have a 4-hour launch window that is 6 p.m. Pacific time through 10 p.m. Pacific time. So that is their launch window. But so far, they're actually tracking the beginning of their launch window. We actually have, we'll be able to pull up mission controls audio later on for you guys. But currently right now, it's all internal. But they're actually on track for a launch at the beginning of their launch window, which is, I don't know how they're doing this. I mean, this is the company's very first launch ever, and everything's running very smooth. So pretty impressive, I'm being told to reload the pre-launch preview one more time. And so this is the mission name for this is FLTA 001, which is Dream. That's also the Dream mission. We'll talk about that in a second. This is Firefly's, as I mentioned, their very first mission ever. The launch provider for this is, of course, Firefly. The customer who's paying for this. There are actually several customers from all around the world, and we'll be talking about some of those in a second. The rocket for this is Firefly's Alpha rocket. This is their first rocket. Now, of course, they've got kind of bigger plans down the road, but for now, this is a very impressive. It's actually currently the largest small sat launcher that is hitting the pad out of this new crop of small sat launchers. It's a very ambitious rocket. We'll keep talking about it here in a second. Launch location, this is taking off from SLC-2 out of Vandenberg Space Force Base, USA. This is actually a really cool launch. I should have pulled up, I have an old picture of me running at a Delta II rocket in my old flight suit. And I actually, the picture was real from, it was Orbcom, or what, not Orbcom, it was from OCO2, which was a carbon observatory mission that was launched on a Delta II back in like 2014, I believe. And I took that picture from that mission. That's the only mission I've actually been to in person at Vandenberg. And I had photoshopped myself in a flight suit. So this pad, I've spent a lot of time there because that day I remember they had problems rolling back the old launch tower. So it's cool to see it stripped down here for Firefly, how simple and elegant they've made everything. It's really cool to see it modernized. That was an old launch tower and a launch infrastructure. They've just clean slate design. It looks beautiful. It's so simple. It's just really, really cool to see what they've done to that place. So the payload mass for this. So today's mission is going to be, get this, 92 kilograms and 92 how do I even say this, and 100.115 kilograms, so about 203 pounds. That is a pretty light payload, but it's, you know, it is a demonstration mission. It's pretty impressive that they're actually putting real payloads on their first mission. That's telling you something. These guys they're ready to go. They are ready to go. So all right, this is so where are these satellites going? They are going to a 300-kilometer low Earth orbit at a 137-degree inclination. That's right. This rocket's actually going to be flying backwards. It's literally flying a retrograde orbit. So it's beyond high inclination. It's actually getting to the point where it's like flying. It'll fly backwards around the world. But this is a good demonstration for them. I'm not entirely sure actually why they're doing a 137-degree inclination. For those of you that aren't quite familiar with inclinations, if you were to fly at so right straight east of like if you're on the equator, you flew at a 0-degree inclination, you'd go right around the equator. But normally you're kind of limited to your latitude. So if you fly out of, say, Kennedy Space Center at 28 degrees north, you're fixed to your kind of minimum without doing some big delta V maneuver is a 28-degree orbit. Inclined orbit. Now, if you're going around a polar orbit, normally those are about 90 degrees around the North and South Pole. You know, it's 90 degrees from, you know, zero. So if you're going 180 degrees, you'd actually be flying completely backwards around the equator. This is a 137-degree inclination. Pretty crazy. Not too familiar with that. And also, just for a heads up too, we are aware that sometimes there's dropped frames coming from Firefly to us. There's nothing we can do about that, but we have good audio, and also when we start switching to other cameras, you'll see some other views that are going to be absolutely worth it, I promise. Okay. So hold on. Okay, so my producer tells me that we might also still have some things wrong with the actual like core of the thing. We might have to refresh this feed in a little bit if it still remains choppy, but we'll give YouTube a little bit of time to see if it straightens out at all. But thank you for your patience, but we'll just keep going here for now. And if we have to refresh it in a little bit, we'll give that a try. So will they be attempting to recover the first stage? No, this is currently not a capability of Alpha. So the first stage will splash down in the Pacific Ocean. Will they be attempting to recover the fairings? And no, this also is not a capability Alpha. This is something that's something we've kind of got spoiled by, those of us that watch SpaceX missions. That's not actually normal really for any other launch provider. No other launch provider has even attempted to recover fairings so far. So as you would imagine too, with a first demonstration mission, that would be a little maybe too ambitious at the very beginning. Anyway, let's get this thing flying. Let's get it working before even trying to do any other tricks like that. So these fairings are new. Weather is currently, get this, I have never heard this in my entire life. The weather is 100%. There is the weather report earlier today was 0% chance of weather violating range restraints. So in other words, weather's fantastic, and that's very unusual for Vandenberg. Vandenberg is typically, we almost like joke that it's just called Vanden fog. So it happens to be not foggy today, and it's just beautiful. So yeah. All right. This so this is the first fly, the first launch of Alpha, the first launch for Firefly, second launch from 2021. So and then of course we have, you know, some more of this, but if you want to read more about this mission, what does it all mean? I kind of want to talk about some of the actual payloads on this mission because there's a lot. So let's see. There's some non-technical payloads because they actually let people submit ideas of things that they wanted to send to space on this mission. So Liam, I'm gonna absolutely not pronounce your name correctly. Fieldstead gave a photo for this mission, so he's flying a photo. There's Henry the Astronaut book from author Jonna Ocampo is going up on the mission. There is also LifeShip DNA samples. This is a company sending up little DNA capsules of from two various corners of our solar system. So pretty cool idea. So that's another thing that's flying. There's also a handful of technical payloads. So this has the Libre Space Foundation Pico bus, the FOSA Systems FOSASat 1B/2, the AMSAT EA Genesis L/N. Then there's Hawaii Science and Technology Museum HIAPO. There's Teachers in Space Serenity, and there's Purdue University Spinnaker 3, which I believe is going to be their last payload deployed this evening, assuming that this vehicle makes it to orbit, which we're all cheering for, of course. So yeah, go ahead and read through this awesome pre-launch preview. We do have one more thing that I wanted to talk about that's really cool, and that's kind of where we're at right now. The mission timelines. Actually, Andrew can pull up a better looking version of this than what I've got so that we can read it a little bit easier on screen here. They actually began pad checkouts at T-8 hours. And then the powered up Alpha at T-7 hours. So this thing's been out there on the pad all day. At T-6 hours and 50 minutes, they did sensor checks. At T-6 hours, they did helium load, which is, of course, an inert gas that they use to backfill the rocket as it drains the fuel. So there aren't, any voids and it doesn't end up like crumpling. That's how you maintain pressure. Okay, we actually have something that we need to do right now on comms. Believe it or not, we're going to get official confirmation of our very first thing in our timeline down here. We're going to get confirmation of whether or not the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down from Mission Control. This is an official thing right now. Let's go ahead and listen in. We're going to get confirmation here from Mission Control, so we're going to be listening into Mission Control audio. And I wanted to go ahead and get confirmation that the pointy end of the rocket is up and flamey end is down. That's what PEUFED is on our timeline. Pointy end is up, flamey end is down. We're listening in here. Andrew, I don't know if it's in program yet, unless they're just very quiet.
LD, this is CRS.
This is CRS.
I just wanted to confirm that the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
I love that. I love what? I love that we literally just got the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down confirmation from Launch Director Adam Oakes. That makes my day. That's like, how did that happen? How did that happen? Okay, that is hilarious. I love Firefly. This is so great. Okay, so back to what else has happened leading up to this point today, too. At T-5 hours and 15 minutes, they actually began loading RP-1. Now, RP-1, when they initially loaded into the rocket, it's just obviously kind of at room temp and at low pressures. And then which is interesting because take note that T-4 hours and 30 minutes is when they did pad clear. So you can actually have the rocket with propellant inside the tanks, with fuel, especially RP-1, because it's not cryogenic. It doesn't need to be highly pressurized. So they can just fill it to safe levels to have humans still around. And actually, like the Atlas V does that as well. Pretty cool with RP-1 that it can operate at room temperature. So yeah, that's always fun. But then they do pad clearing before the LOX load in. So LOX load was at T-3 hours and 40 minutes. So that's obviously why you start to see these cryogenic, the boil off here. You see all this, what looks like steam and stuff coming off of the rocket. That is actually liquid oxygen boiling off and becoming a gas because it's obviously very cold. Liquid oxygen is down around minus 200 degrees Celsius. And as it warms up from the ambient air temperature, it expands 1,000 times its size and becomes a gas. And obviously you don't want your things inside of a closed system, inside of a closed tank, expand 1,000 times without venting it, it'd be very bad. So that is why you're seeing so much of that condensation boiling off the rocket as we speak. And then we go into, so that's LOX load. So at T-minus 20 minutes, the countdown net is actually going to be going over the go no go poll. Now, unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to share that audio with you, but we will be able to pick up audio soon after that. So we will actually have mission control audio shortly after that. Stage ignites at T-minus 1 second and 79 something, 1.79 seconds, and liftoff obviously at T0. So yeah, that's pretty much that. But I did want to show you one more thing from our pre-launch preview here and kind of talk about this vehicle. So obviously, if you guys are on your phones or on your computers, you will see Firefly Alpha. And what's fun is we have a render here from Casper Stanley, who actually did a side-by-side comparison of Firefly's Alpha versus what I consider one of the, an awesome launch company, Rocket Lab, with their Electron. We're all very familiar with that rocket. They've launched it many times. I just want you to take notice of the size difference of Firefly's Alpha. It is actually quite a large vehicle compared to the awesome Electron rocket. So that is a scale, and that's Casper for scale there compared to a human. So these are still, relatively small rockets in the grand scheme of rockets because they are small lift launchers. But one of the things that's really cool about this rocket is that it actually is also carbon composite, very similar to Rocket Lab's Electron. So this is actually the world's largest carbon composite rocket that will have ever attempted to fly to orbit. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that they do that's super unique on this vehicle is they run it on what's called rever engines. And these rever engines, what's awesome about them is they use a cycle type called the combustion tap-off cycle. And this is something that's never flown to orbit or never attempted to fly on an orbital vehicle. The BE-3 engine on Blue Origin's New Shepard uses a tap-off cycle, but that is not an orbital rocket. But that is actually, I think that might be the first tap-off cycle engine to ever make it above the Kármán line. This is the first time a company's attempting to use the tap-off cycle to get a rocket into orbit. The tap-off cycle is a really unique solution. It's relatively simple because you actually can remove your gas generator or your pre-burner from the engine, and you literally basically punch a hole in the side of your main combustion chamber, and you pipe that and have that actually be directed right at the turbine, which is what powers up your pumps. So the hard thing about that is normally one of the most difficult parts is, well, two things. How do you start that, right? How do you start your engine if it requires the main engine running in order to spin the pumps, and the pumps are what run the engine. So if the pumps aren't running, how do you get the engine running in the first place to get the pump spinning? Like, it just seems like one of those chicken and egg syndromes. What they actually do, though, is they will use nitrogen for the first stage. They'll use ground-based nitrogen to high pressure to spin up the pumps. They'll use that to spin through the turbine, get the pump spinning up to operational pressures. Once the engine is up to stable combustion, then that will take over and continue to run the pumps at that point. But the hard part about it, too, is that the engines typically run closer to stoichiometric ratios, which is a lot hotter than what you typically run a turbine with a pre-burner or a gas generator. Normally, those temperatures are quite a bit lower. You run them very fuel-rich usually, or sometimes, if you're like the Soviet engines, they would always, almost always run oxygen-rich. But you run it far away from anywhere near stoichiometric, and that allows them to be cooler and keeps it so your turbo pump machinery will not melt. So that's another challenge, is how do you solve that? And to be honest, I have no idea how they solved it. I have no idea how they make it so you can use the main combustion exhaust gas to spin the pumps. It just seems absolutely crazy to me. They solved it. It's a really cool solution, and they're using it on both their first stage and their second stage. So they also will use, they have a Lightning engine on the upper stage, and the Lightning engine produces about a third the amount of thrust, if I remember, 75 kilonewtons versus, total of 300. Yeah, so I think it's like 3 or 4 times 184. So yeah, about 2.5 times less powerful. And there's a single one of those as opposed to the 4 revers on the first stage. But yeah, it's really cool. But in order to get that one started, now you might go, if they were using ground-based nitrogen, how did they get that started? The vehicle has some high-pressure helium bottles to spin up the second stage pumps. And helium is a better choice when it's on a rocket that needs to restart in air, because it's a lot lighter than trying to compress nitrogen. Nitrogen, for the same amount of energy, basically, it's a lot more dense, so it'd be a lot heavier. So that's our pre-launch preview, and we need to thank Flo from our website crew for writing that pre-launch preview. Again, if you guys have questions, go check that out. I promise you'll hopefully learn a lot more than what I just blabbed on about, which is crazy because we're already at T-minus 30 minutes. I've been blabbing way too much. I haven't got to any of your awesome. I really appreciate all the people that are asking questions. We will get to those, I promise. And don't worry, we've got plenty of time for Coast. And I'm sure, not sure actually, at this point, they're kind of scaring me. They're actually going to go right at the top of their window, which is nuts, which means that, well, I mean, that's a great thing. So obviously, at like we mentioned, at T-minus 20 minutes, we do expect Mission Control to give the final go, no-go poll and get into the terminal countdown. That's kind of what we're waiting on next, which is coming up in 13 minutes. But meanwhile, I wanted to do a little camera walkthrough with you guys because we actually have some really awesome cameras here for you guys. And I'm really, really excited about them. So, yeah, take a look at this. This is one of our main shots. Again, we do apologize that some of the frame rates are relatively low, but we might have to work some issues on the back end. But, yeah, just enjoy these for now, and we'll keep going here. So this is another shot really close to the back of the strong back. And the flame trench, I believe, goes off from here to either the right or the middle. But yeah, super cool shot. The strong back is what lifts the rocket up and supports it as it awaits launch. Super cool. Next up, we've got another shot. This would be a cool shot to see the rocket go through once it kind of clears the strong back and clears the tower, basically, is what that would be. Then we've got another shot. This isn't the one that's tracking. Is it, Andrew? Oh, this one is. That's a close tracking camera. That's a very close tracking camera. That camera will actually move with the rocket and track it as it begins to ascend off the pad. So that will be one that'll be really fun to check in on soon after launch. All right, next shot, Andrew. This is also another tracking asset. This one's actually infrared, which is very necessary at Vandenberg because normally these rockets end up flying straight into clouds or through fog and you can't see anything. And tracking assets are actually valuable for the launch provider and for the range to make sure there aren't the vehicle's not having an anomaly. And if the vehicle does have an anomaly, it's good data to be able to look back on and see if there's, all the data, the better. And here is another infrared camera as well. So again, basically right back into, having the ability to fly through clouds and all that stuff. This one's actually really cool. It's from like very far away on a separate mountain and it's a little bit shaky, but it's also because it's, very, very zoomed in on a long telephoto lens to be able to get that shot. That is also a really cool camera there too. So from the range assets. Now, next up, we have a camera that I cannot wait. I cannot believe we actually talked them into this. And for those of you that watched, I actually launched or streamed when China sent a rover to Mars. We stumbled upon Trench Cam. And ever since then, I have dreamed of this day when we can officially provide for you guys Trench Cam. So how awesome is that? This is full-blown Trench Cam City. Like this is an actual camera right there. Trench Cam, I can't believe it. We got access to Trench Cam. But believe it or not, Firefly, again, I'm not trying to butter their biscuits too much here, guys, but the level of transparency this company has had has just been amazing. They basically just keep saying, sure, sounds good to us. You just do your thing. We were asking if there's a camera that could show engine gimbaling. And we can't show this very long. We're going to show you a real quick little preview, but then we have to turn it off. We have engine cam. We have flamey end cam. That's all we're going to show you for now. But we will be able to show you that at ignition, which, come on. If that's not the coolest thing. What? Yeah, so that's awesome. Trench cam, and this is blowing me away. We actually had an official pointy end up, flaming end down check. We have trench cam, and they even took it another level up and took it into engine cam, into flamey cam. So flamey end cam, yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, so that gets us into waiting here. We basically have 9 minutes where I'm going to answer a couple of you guys' questions. Until we wait to hear about the terminal count. So I wanted to first just thank off all of you that are tuning in and that have decided to become members or super chats. Of course, that helps me pursue things like this and try to provide streams for you guys as well. So thank you so much to members. Members, members, and of course Patreon supporters, get ready because I'm almost done with the massive dialogue cut of the infamous family tree of the Soviet rocket engines. It's my most ambitious video ever to date. I've been working on it for way too long, and I'm really excited. Oh, look at that! We got some venting. That's cool. And oh, I should need to mention too, by the way. Okay, so we'll get back into the Soviet rocket engine fiasco of me spending way too much time on it. But I do want to point out, don't forget this rocket is black. It's entirely carbon fiber. But you will notice that it looks half black, half white right now. And of course, that is because that's where the liquid oxygen tanks are. So the liquid oxygen tanks are what hold on to the liquid oxygen, obviously, and they're still black carbon composite, just like the rest of the rocket. But the craziest thing is that obviously that's really cold. Like I mentioned, it's almost minus 200 degrees Celsius. So that means that ice will end up building because there's obviously a lot of water vapor in the air. Ice will end up building onto it, and you actually have a layer of ice on the rocket, which is why it's white in those spots. So it is a black rocket, but when it's fueled up and ready for launch, that thing ends up being half black, half white, which is just wild to see. It's just weird to see the actual physical formation of ice on a rocket that's going to have a flame that would melt anything, basically, coming out of the other end of it. I just love that. I think that's super cool. So, yeah. So in Discord, someone said it's entered zebra mode. Hunter Cut says the rocket has entered zebra mode. That's how you know this thing's ready. It is in zebra mode. So very cool. Yeah, so again, thanks to all of you guys. Get ready for those YouTube members and Patreon supporters. Get ready. We will be putting up a very rough version of the dialogue cut of that Soviet rocket engine video. It's coming in, actually, I think I read it a little faster than I normally do because it's so long, and I think it might only be about an hour and a half in length, which is crazy. Maybe an hour 40. But for those of you that like my long form documents, like basically documentary style stuff, this will be the ultimate one. I promise you that it will be the ultimate one. So let's see. I really like this sentiment here from our friend Musical Wolves. Very excited to see a launch instead of political space issues. Any launch is exciting. Team Space is awesome. Congratulations on hosting the official stream. Well, thank you so much to Musical Wolves. Yeah, again, we're just beyond thrilled to be able to do this along with you guys. Of course, my goal here at this channel is to bring space down to earth for everyday people and just help you get excited about spaceflight. And I personally believe the easiest way to get excited about aerospace is to actually be learning about aerospace, is to learn some of those little odds and ends and start, learning about how this stuff works. Because I think when you're educated about a subject, that's when you really get excited about it. So obviously the whole goal of Everyday Astronaut is just simply to break down stuff that's complicated and try to make it explainable to you guys, normally through long form content that is, has a lot of good visuals because I'm a very visual learner. But yeah, this is the ultimate dream for me, having a rocket provider actually wanting me to stream their launch. It's just crazy. So, all right. So let's see. This is interesting. This is from Wily Coyote, again, about the buffer issues. If you guys have problems still with the feed, try refreshing or going back in the feed a little bit. But if we need to, we might have to refresh one more time. But I think it's probably stabilized a little bit. Again, the dropped frames of the rocket will probably maintain. That's been a persistent issue for us with this transport. But yeah, we appreciate your patience and hanging out with us. We think it's pretty cool that we have all these camera options and that we get this much insight to everything. So not bad for a first stream of an official rocket company. All right, so this is a good question again from Musical Wolves. Do the fairings have trackers even though they aren't being recovered? Are fairings considered space debris? Well, don't forget, fairings normally deploy soon after stage separation of a rocket. So when the first stage and second stage separates, the first stage typically ends up splashing down only 200, 300, 400, 500 kilometers downrange, depending on the trajectory and the mission. That's where the first stage splashes down. Now the fairing will remain attached to the upper stage, which will accelerate it a little bit more. But normally the fairings deploy soon after second stage engine ignition. So second stage will, kind of run for a couple seconds or, 20, 30 seconds, and then they'll do stage fairing separation. So those fairings are not yet orbital. Those fairings are still suborbital at that point, because the vehicle, you know, it takes another 6 minutes or so of acceleration to get a vehicle up to orbital velocity. So because they ditched their fairings before they orbit. Oh, interesting. Apparently we're getting double face. Yes, it was. That was 100% my fault. We were seeing streams come up on my face. I am sorry. So anyway, so don't forget the vehicle doesn't actually get into orbit until much later on, several minutes later. So the fairings are still suborbital when they let go, which means they splash down 500, 600, 700 kilometers downrange. So they don't need to be tracked in space because they won't maintain orbit or anything. They will come back down 10 to 15 minutes after launch, and then become little boats for a little bit, and eventually be succumbed to the ocean, where they become a coral reef. So yeah. Let's try to get to a couple more questions. Yes, this is a good question here from Norbert Daniels. Again, if you guys are asking good questions, we'll try to pull them up on stream when we have time. Doesn't a retrograde orbit mean more delta V required? So doesn't it mean more energy to get into a retrograde orbit? And the answer is 100% yes. So normally, obviously, if you're launching prograde, if you're launching with the rotation of the Earth, you get that extra bit of spin. So the Earth is helping, quite literally flinging you and giving you almost, I believe it's almost 1,000 meters per second, almost a kilometer of delta V. Is that right? Can someone let me know? I don't remember. Is it only like 400? I don't quite remember offhand. I'm sure Discord will know. But yeah, so the cool thing there is that that the Earth normally helps you get into orbit. Now, when you're going into a polar orbit, you actually kind of have to negate the rotation of the Earth, and when you're going into a retrograde orbit, you have to go opposite of the rotation of the Earth. So it's actually really hard. But remember, again, this rocket is capable of taking almost a ton, a metric ton, to low Earth orbit, and in that case, launching only 98 kilograms is nothing. So yeah. Yeah, let me see if I was right. 460 meters per second at the equator. Thank you, Green Cobalt and Discord. Yes, I was way off. It's not a full kilometer of delta V. It's more like 400 or 350 probably from northern latitude. So yeah, so thank you very much for that. From Hunter saying the Firefly colors and Everyday Astronaut graphics is amazing. I love their color scheme. I think it's super cool. I love seeing that we actually have the Firefly green up on our screen as opposed to my typical orange. It's just fun to see. It's fun to see that kind of partnership. So yeah, huge shout out to Gravity Coast, to Allie, for all the graphics that she's done. This has been a fun, and then Andrew, also our producer, making it into a cool interactive thing like this for you guys. So yeah, you guys, I have an awesome team. We'll put it that way. Let's see. This is a really good thing that I want to bring up from Orange again, man. Good evening, Tim. Ryan and Mary Liz from Cosmic Perspective had a fantastic launch of their Road to Mars series. Have I seen it? I had to stop what I was doing today, set aside the 30 minutes to watch the first episode of Road to Mars from Cosmic Perspective, because it was incredible. Those two work on something so hard and put so much effort into their videos. It's just unheard of. Their way of storytelling is amazing. If you guys aren't familiar, obviously, with Cosmic Perspective, they are who help us a lot during, obviously, during Starship launches down in South Texas. But, you know, it's really fun to see how they do storytelling, how they share their images. And it's just been an awesome partnership. So I'm so proud of the work they do. And that made me teary-eyed. Now, give us a second here. I believe we may or may not be trying to refresh the camera feeds here. So hopefully we can try to eke out a little less lag here for you guys. But we will get them back in just a second while we continue to answer questions. So this is a great question from Razenbot. Many light launchers now, do you think they will all find a place on the launch market? That's actually kind of the ultimate question to me as an aerospace fan, is there are a lot. I mean, I did a video about the small sat launchers that are kind of coming online right now, comparing some of the ones that are getting really, really close to flying. And Firefly obviously was in that. And I kind of said at the end of the video, I personally believe, you know, if you can get a rocket on the pad and get launching and attempting to launch this year, you're probably on track for you know, survivability. But if your first rocket for small sat launch is 3, 5, 10 years away, you're probably going to be just too late unless you do something totally groundbreaking, something completely different. Yeah, but I think right now there is still some room for a little bit more. A couple more in the game. There's some really exciting rocket companies that are coming online here, and yeah, I think like I said, I think if you have a rocket on the pad this year, you're looking pretty good. But the race is definitely on. So Firefly, if they happen to get to orbit, I need to mention, by the way, guys, I don't even know if I've said this. At least no private company's liquid fueled rocket. Or no private company's first rocket has ever made it to orbit on its first attempt. The closest would probably be the Electron, Rocket Lab's Electron. The vehicle was actually good. They lost a ground track station that allowed them to continue tracking the rockets. They actually had to terminate their first launch, but they were close. They probably would have done it, sans that. If Firefly happens to make it to orbit today, which again, remember, this is a test flight. This is the first launch of a brand new vehicle from a brand new company. If they get off the pad and start making some data, that's going to be progress for them, right? So we just want to cheer on any progress. But yeah, they're aiming for orbit. They're going for orbit fully. It's really impressive. You have to think about all the extra details, the guidance and telemetry. Okay. Poll is done. They are go for launch. That's awesome news. So we are now within terminal count. They're actually going for the beginning of their launch window for a new rocket company to be attempting their very first launch at the beginning of the launch window. This is super impressive. I'm starting to get chills here. This is awesome news. So yeah, that is super. I can't believe that. I'm sorry. I've been tracking this program for so long now that it's just hard to believe that they're actually going for it already at the beginning of the launch window on their first attempt. So let's see. Yeah, this is nuts. The enthusiasm on my end, guys. I'm sorry. I will probably move the mic when it gets closer to launch. I actually try to tamp my enthusiasm on air, believe it or not. I know that sounds impossible, but I get really, when I've been working on this stuff, and following it for so long, you get really wrapped up in it. Just like sports fans, you guys know what that's like. I guess I am a ultimate spaceflight nerd, and I get really excited about this stuff as well. So yeah, I would never, like I said, I actually try to tamp it down a little bit for you guys, but I'm starting to get chills just thinking that we're only 16, 17 minutes away from T0. This is crazy. So yeah, we're going to keep going. So actually that made me think about, I've been following this company for a while, but the first video that I ever saw of them, they released about a year ago, I think, maybe a little beyond a year ago. And it was them reaching out to ask people if they wanted to have their payloads flown. So Andrew, if we have that video, I actually wanted to roll that. And also I wanted to roll, we also have some really cool footage from them, from some of their testing campaign, because this company has really, really, really cool stuff. So we're gonna pull that up here for you guys in just a second. Like I said, this was the first video I saw.
Making space for everyone has been an essential part of Firefly's vision and dream since the day we began. We've been working tirelessly for the past few years to develop Alpha, a game-changing small satellite launch vehicle. And finally, our first launch is within sight. I'm proud to announce today that we're extending the capacity of our inaugural launch to you. That means we've reserved a spot on Alpha for you to send up whatever dream payload you can think of. We're calling the flight opportunity Dedicated Research and Education Accelerator Mission, or Dream Payload. We encourage educational institutions, startup space entrepreneurs, or any other institution that has big space dreams to visit firefly.com and tell us about your dream space payload. On the website, you'll find all the details and specifications you need. We look forward to hearing from you as Firefly marches toward first flight, perhaps with your dream payload aboard.
So yeah, like I said, that happens to be the first video that I ever really caught of them, because they've actually been around for a while, but they had a restructure of their business. They used to be Firefly Space Systems. Now they're Firefly Aerospace. So they actually had a clean slate rocket. So they basically started over only about 4 years ago and got out to the pad this quickly, which is extremely impressive. Again, everything I'm talking about, by the way, is like unscripted. It's just me talking to you guys about this stuff, which again, thank you, Firefly, for even trusting me with any of this stuff. But yeah, so it's pretty impressive to me, again, as an outside perspective, to go from a clean slate design and a new company restructure to only 4 years later having a rocket at the pad. Honestly, super cool. Another base out of Austin, Texas, their headquarters. Oh, also good news is we can actually listen in. We're going to pull up mission control audio. So if anything does come up over the comms, we will hear it live with you guys. So we'll all be informed together. Again, another transparency thing from Firefly. They're giving us a listen in to their mission control. Super, super cool. There is actually a few more videos. So, as Tom walked away there, you did see that there's...
T-minus 14 minutes. RC, please contact the range and coordinate to begin recording RF tapes at T-minus 10 minutes.
Confirmed.
This field. Sweet. They're going for it. They're going for it. This is crazy. So, okay. There was a few more videos. Like I said, they have an awesome set of videos for their testing campaign. I actually wanted to run just a few of those testing videos for you guys because it's really cool. So this that you'll see is a startup of 2 of their Reaver engines.
Ground side preparation for CubeSats and simple verification has completed. T-minus 13 to T-minus 10, we will now report action. In the event of an abort, we will perform the following steps. We'll confirm there are no fires around the engine, which utilizing siren by LP. Confirm the fires we'll confirm vehicle health. Pre-bubble closed. Bubbles active. That's when verify other vehicle things. Confirm ground side health. CubeSats anchor blanket. Spin active. Confirm that the range we're clear to require and power down the vehicle.
Trying to hear you.
We'll power off stage 1, stage 2 FTS.
I just wanted to kind of point out a few things here about these videos. So this is at their site, which is about 45 or an hour northwest of Austin, Texas, kind of in the middle of Texas. But this is one of my favorites because it is the all-up test of their first stage booster. That's the one that we see right here, right now. This is performed, I believe, last year. Now I wanted to notice the engine gimbaling there. I wanted to call out something interesting about the way that their engines steer. They're actually only single-axis gimbals, but because you have 4 engines, 2 of them can go on one axis and 2 of them can go on the other axis. So between the 4 engines, you actually have all 4 axes of control. Now, this is also a little clip from one of their, this is a short duration static fire they had at Vandenberg Air Force Base on the pad just about 2 weeks ago, I believe. They did some static fire testing. I just thought this was really cool. Slow motion video. You gotta love it. You will notice there's a bright green flash at the beginning of the burn, and that is using TTEB. So they use the same igniter fuel that the Falcon 9 uses to light up its engine. And that's triethyl aluminum, triethyl borine, which is a pyrophoric fluid. So as soon as that comes in contact with liquid oxygen, it begins to combust. So it's a nice, simple ignition fluid. Super cool. So you actually could see that at the beginning of that attempt. So yeah, we're going to keep listening in here to comms. We're hearing a little bit of chatter. It's fun to hear some of that stuff about, like, what if this or that happens? They're going over all their procedures. But we are within T-minus 10 minutes. I kind of can't believe it. Yeah, this is pretty wild. But yeah, real quick again, back to the engine gimbal. So I want to be able to use my hands to talk because that's how I normally talk. So basically you have a set of engines that can gimbal this way, a set of engines that can gimbal this way. And between them, you can do roll by having them all kind of gimbal opposite each other, or even a pair just gimbal opposite of each other. You can go, pitch or yaw just by using a set, and basically together to be able to do pitch or yaw with those 4 engines on just a single gimbal axis. That's pretty unique, but it's one of those kind of simple things. Like, why put 2-axis gimbals on every engine if you can get away with only using one? The best part is no part. So super cool. Man, yeah, again, sorry, I'm still just like, I'm trying to catch up to the idea that this thing's actually going to launch in T-minus 9 minutes and 40 seconds. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so this was again from Musical Wolves asking about Trench Cam. Again, I hope that you guys saw our camera walkthrough. Andrew's kind of giving you guys a little taste of things, but we do have Trench Cam in this broadcast, which is unbelievable. super, super, super cool. So we're really, really excited to be able to show that. Now that'll get obviously completely smoked out almost immediately.
See, countdown 1, range confirms, recorders are on.
Copy.
So basically, they're tracking assets, the cameras are on and recording, which is a good thing because especially when the vehicle is fueled up at this point, it is awesome to be able to see it at that capacity. So, all right, so this is a nice little fun thing. Best first launch stream from any company. Hope it doesn't go sideways. There's been some, the most recent Astra launch was unbelievable. I couldn't believe. With the NSF crew doing that stream, the fact that the rocket made it off away from the pad and began to actually ascend was really cool. I was cheering like crazy. I was doing the disbelief sign, like what? As it was power setting off. It was an incredible amount of guidance and control for that rocket.
Can we get stage 1 fuel tank repress?
But again, really excited that this rocket is ready to go. That Firefly is letting us stream their first attempt ever. Like that's so
It's
cool.
up on the left screen.
Good.
Copy.
Go ahead and change that. Flight software takes care of it for what we want in the last 30 seconds, so you're good to support.
Cool. All right, let's keep going here. So yeah, again, this is from Alexander asking, how does retrograde orbit affect payload capabilities? So it can be, I think it's about, so normally if you're going from like a normal prograde orbit to say a polar orbit, you lose about 30% of your performance. I'm actually not sure. I think you still lose only about 30, maybe a little more when you go retrograde. I think you would actually lose a little bit more. But you, like I said, though, you do actually have to still negate your velocity, your rotational velocity when you go into polar anyway. But yeah. All right. This is from Kyle Jones. This indeed is their first orbital launch ever of their Alpha vehicle. Again, super impressive that they are streaming this entirely. I mean, I just feel like that's pretty transparent. I think as far as I remember, and I got corrected on this, the only other company that ever did that was SpaceX with their Falcon 1 way back in the day. Way back in the day, they did that. We had some people kind of asking about size and everything. I should kind of remind you guys of the size here. This thing is about 30 meters tall, so 95 feet tall. So it's like I said, it's a pretty good size small sat launcher. Andrew, I actually do have that chart pulled up here if we want to give kind of people a size comparison compared to some other small lift launch vehicles. But yeah, it's basically 30 meters tall, 95 feet tall. So it is, yeah, it's a good sized rocket. And it is, sorry. And then as far as width though, too, it's 1.8 meters wide. So it's on par. It's almost the exact same width actually as Virgin Orbit. But yeah, if you compare it here to the Falcon 9, you can see still how big a medium class rocket is. Quite a bit larger than these vehicles, but Firefly's Alpha is actually a very big small lift launch vehicle. As far as small lift launch vehicles go, it is quite large. So yeah, again, if you guys have questions about how Firefly's Aerospace, their Alpha rocket compares to other launch vehicles, we do have that up at our website too. We had a video comparing all of these rockets together that you see on screen right now here on YouTube. So after this launch, if you have questions about how this vehicle compares to others, go ahead and check out that video. It should give you a good rundown. Let's listen in. It should give you a good rundown on kind of everything, and especially this vehicle as well, to kind of tell you about the tap off cycle a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah, again, let's see here. So
please begin dispositioning LCC gate checks for T-minus 2
yes.
checks. Attention all, any
Strong
no-go at this time will be an automatic abort. Again, at the T-minus 2 minute call, any no-go will be an automatic abort.
In work.
So that was in work. So
T-minus 5 minutes, the strongback is secured in its launch position.
wow. All right. So that is the strongback retract. Andrew, go ahead and check that off on the list. That is awesome. That's a good sign that things are moving forward on time. I can't believe this. It's running so smoothly for a first launch. Wow. I don't even know how they're doing this. So the next thing we're going to be seeing here in just a couple minutes, we might hear the call out for it actually any second here, will be that the flight termination system is armed. And actually, I think that call out is going to be around T-minus 4 minutes. We should hear that on the net. And that's going to be the system that if the vehicle were to happen to have an anomaly and start to stray off course, they have the ability to terminate the rocket in flight, which is a good thing, you know, because they're obviously...
LCDCC, MCD1. We're about 1 minute to close on the LCCs for T-minus 2.
Copy. T-minus 4 minutes. FTS, please confirm FTRs are active and range is transmitting check channel 4.
FTS confirms that FTRs are active and range is transmitting check channel 4.
Note, the ARM Enable 2 command must be received by the ESAT within 30 seconds of receiving the ARM Enable 1 command. FTS, send ARM Enable 1 command to all ESATs.
ARM Enable 1 command being sent in 3, 2, 1, mark.
FTS, send ARM Enable 2 command to all ESATs.
ARM Enable 2 command being sent in 3, 2, 1, mark.
FTS, confirm when all ESATs are enabled.
All ESATs are armed.
FTS is armed. All right, we can check that one off.
3 minutes. Fuel bleed will begin.
Okay. So the next thing on our list, they will actually do an engine gimbal check here at about T-minus 2 minutes, if I remember right. We won't be able to show you that, but we will hear confirmation, hopefully, over the net that is indeed go. And they'll also do a go for launch here. They'll do the go for launch at T-minus 2 minutes. So we'll listen into that and hear, hopefully, from Launch Director Adam Oakes that everything is still good to go. That is kind of the final thing. Like, assuming it's all good to go from here, they're going to light this candle in just 2 minutes.
LCC, MCD1, T-minus 2 minutes. Let's go.
Copy.
I think that was go for launch already. That was... Okay.
T-minus 2 minutes. CE has performed the final check against LCC-10. This is the final commit for launch. Chief Engineer.
Send it.
Launch Director.
Go.
LDA.
LDA, you're go for launch.
Thank you. Step 3.9 to 29. VC verify Alpha transitions to autonomous mode at T-minus 30 seconds. To stop the count, operators declare abort, abort, abort on CD1 and VC will abort the auto. Thank you.
$60 seconds.
So they will begin engine ignition at T-minus just about 2 seconds. So
Please do this thing.
we'll see the green flash around then. And our clock might be a tiny bit off. We apologize for that if it is within a couple seconds, but it's good enough for now.
30 seconds.
VC verify Alpha transitions to autonomous mode.
Autonomous.
RC give the final 10-second countdown on the net with positive calls.
Abort. Which we've aborted.
I think they're going.
Confirm there are no fires on the video.
See no fires on the video.
GC close world purges.
Oh, was that an abort? That was an
VC
abort.
confirm the following 3 valves are closed.
World bridge closed.
Did
3 valves are closed.
Confirm helium bubble
Abort.
is active.
Helium bubble is active.
Confirm S1 fuel tank is maintaining between 30 and 36 psia.
Maintaining pressure.
And all other tanks are vented.
Vented.
GC confirm the following T-type tank is vented.
Barely in the terminal count though.
Vented.
Confirm TBC tank is vented.
Venting.
Confirm spin system is vented and cavity purges are active. VC verify the following. C Rio is in the release safe state.
Stand by 1.
Spin system is vented. Cavity purges are active.
Thank you.
Now, just a little heads up, guys.
Cheerios in safe state.
Friendly reminder here that
Confirm
this vehicle, they do have a
SSW
4-hour
manual
launch
state
window, so
and
it's
the auto sequence.
not over yet. They had
Manual
something
state
similar
and auto
to this
sequence is complete.
when they did their static fire.
On
They actually were
CD1,
able
the
to get
release
2
system
static
is now
fires in
safe.
during their
FDS
window.
confirmed
So,
range are okay to disarm and power down the ESAT.
And work.
CRS
so we're gonna listen here.
57 pad area camera scan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to let them work the issue here, and we will await to hear from them on anything official if there's a chance to reset today. Which there might be a chance to reset. Andrew, when you get a second, go ahead and put abort on the T+ clock. But yeah, that's obviously again, this is completely, frankly, expected on my end. I would assume that the very first launch, there's going to be a couple things that they need to just kind of tweak. And they want to be extra cautious again. You know, you don't want to just send the vehicle if there's anything that triggers any kind of abort, obviously. So they must have seen something that didn't quite look right. They're going to be going over all of their, go over everything and see if there is a chance to recycle today and go for a launch opportunity again. Again, remember, there is a 4-hour launch window today. But the fact that they got that far into the terminal count on their first time, of their first ever orbital rocket, again, was way ahead of my expectations. I can't believe we're even launching on their first launch day opportunity. There is a backup tomorrow. If there is something that if they actually need to defuel the rocket and go out and tweak on it, that will be likely a scrub for the day. But if the vehicle's fine and the systems are good, they'll give her a check out and they'll hopefully be able to repress and go for another attempt here this evening. So fingers crossed, we'll wait to hear from them as soon as we can. But in the meantime, this is why it's fun to be able to have you guys to hang out with, because I am waiting just like you. So, yeah, so everyone just send a quick little, send some love off to Firefly and some patience virtues, because this is rocket science. So this happens even to the most flown rockets in existence will still have things happen like this as well. So, so yeah, we'll just give them a little bit of patience, let them work the issue, of course, do their job, and hope that they can, you know, maybe reset for today. If not, we will be here tomorrow. So, hang on. I'm just getting confirmation here. Okay, we just got official confirmation that they are recycling and going for another attempt. Now, we'll update our clock here as soon as we know. Andrew, this is actually probably a good time if you want to pull up a video here. I'm going to take a little break, do some tweeting, updating people that were waiting a new T0 time. We'll get back in as soon as we can. I'll probably just take a quick little break. And then what I'll be able to do at that point, too, is hopefully get a little bit more information for you guys. And so we can update you guys, but then we'll answer a bunch of your questions. So you guys have been awesome. I like that that again, Firefly's trusting me to just answer questions on the fly. Super cool. But I love that they're just basically treating it as my stream, and they're just allowing us to see it. So again, thank you, Firefly. You guys are awesome. So that being said, I'm just going to take a real quick little break while we wait to hear about the recycle and while we await a new T0 time. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Firefly is growing very rapidly. We're looking for new team members that are into the mission of new space. Going to space is probably about the hardest thing you can do. If you can achieve it, you've done what is seemingly impossible. We're not just buying other people's stuff and putting it together. We have to engineer all the pieces, parts, put them into assemblies, and test them for the first time. We have to solve problems that none of us have solved before. Firefly's goal is to build a rocket that can get small satellites to space. The kind of people I'm looking for here at Firefly are people that have fire in their belly, that have a passion for space, but not just that, they're people that have distinguished themselves in their career in academics. They know their subject. They're serious people who like to get things done. I'm not really hung up on getting people that are experts in rockets right up from the outset. I want people that are very technically astute and have a passion for space and can learn the things they need to know to build rockets.
The challenges and problems make you dig deep and think like you've never thought before.
I made the modifications for the thrust chamber to interface with the new...
You get to imagine things and try and make them a reality.
This place is fast-paced. You always have your next goal. We're always hustling.
At Firefly, you'll get opportunities to have a meaningful leadership role in a company right from the outset that you wouldn't get at a larger company. Space has always been intriguing, but what's unique about this time now is that there's big business to be had in space. Its estimates are on the order of $3.2 trillion in revenue by 2045, dwarfing any other business.
Final configuration. Operator, please check NPTO1.
Everyone at Firefly partially owns the company. So if you come to Firefly, you'll get equity. If we become wildly successful, everybody's going to get carried along, and you're going to do very well financially.
We're all owners of the company, so we're very motivated to get to launch. Even those who aren't going to be very rich are going to be very comfortable.
Firefly is in a stronger position than it's ever been. We have an investor that's dedicated to pay the entire bill to get us to space. We do need some more people to help us get to the next level, but everything is in great shape right now at Firefly. People are the most important thing at Firefly. You know, I'm the CEO, but I'm out in the field working with the team on building the rocket engines. We're just a bunch of guys and gals trying to do something amazing. You won't find hierarchy here or a lot of roadblocks or bureaucracy.
The culture's very sort of family-like.
Test execution. RE. Verify blue lines are met. Operator, stand by manual abort. Start camera recording and start auto sequence and provide a countdown.
Starting auto sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
0. Firefly is great because you really feel like that you're putting your personal touch on this vehicle and on this system.
Just an amazing feeling.
Working here, you get an opportunity to work on something that's going to be very impactful, literally extending humanity's reach into the universe. And that's something, in addition to being economically secure, you can look back in your old age and be proud of and talk to your grandkids about.
Right, and welcome back. Unfortunately, we don't have any new updates for you guys for a new T0 time, but that's okay because we can use this time to answer some of your guys' questions. Again, I will try to do everything in my power to get to as many of these questions as possible, but with the amount of people watching right now, we probably won't be able to keep up with everything. We definitely can't keep up with everything, but if we have good questions, they don't have to be super chats, guys. We put up lots of just regular chats for you guys. If it's a good question, we'll try to get to it. But yeah, I really enjoy the fact that that we are able to just kind of hang out with you guys together. So it feels like we're all watching this together. So there was a chance for a little while. I was working on trying to do this in person. Unfortunately, I'm still recovering from COVID. I'm feeling 99% better, but energy swings are pretty massive still, even 3 or 4 weeks out later. So so that being said, we are doing this all remotely. But there are probably some people out there in California that are buddied up, parked around Vandenberg Space Force Base. Sorry, not Air Force Base. So hopefully there's people that are there to watch it in person and watch this launch attempt today. So we're still hoping. Again, there is a 4-hour launch window here today. So there is a chance that this vehicle will recycle and they will be able to go for another attempt here within that 4-hour period. So we are officially only 10 minutes into the launch window, so they have plenty of time left. So yeah, so just to confirm, I did see some people asking, yes, Firefly, the company, is in Texas and they do their testing. Their headquarters is in Austin, but they are launching out of Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. So they're launching on the West Coast. Yeah. So let's see. This is a good question from Crypto. Are there engineering cams so we can see the rocket after T plus like 100 seconds? We actually do have a onboard camera that we will be able to show once this vehicle leaves the pad. That is something we will be able to show for you guys. And the other fun thing about this too is, again, that we have the awesome tracking camera assets from Vandenberg Space Force Base. So we will have some of the best telescopes in the world pointing at this vehicle, and we are able to share those views with you guys. So yeah, so stand by. Again, hopefully if this thing does happen to go off today, we will be able to show you all of the normal views. Plus there, of course, with any rocket launch, you do have moments where you are not over top of a ground tracking station. So therefore there are moments where you don't have video link and data. So so during those periods, those are known loss of signal pockets, basically known blackout periods. So we'll let you guys know about that if that is if that actually is a thing. This is from NASA Spaceflight. Our president of NASA Spaceflight, I just wanted to pull this up, saying Buran was better than Shuttle because of Energia. And I would agree with that. Energia was incredible. Again, we will be talking about that quite a bit in my video about the entire history of Soviet rocket engines. And yeah, Energia was just an incredible rocket. And yeah, stand by for that. Again, hopefully I'm getting pretty far into the dialogue cut of this massive video, and Patreon members and YouTube members will get be able to see a version of it where it's just me talking. Basically, I have almost no B-roll, but what I'm going to do, because this video is so overwhelmingly complicated with literally like 100 engines on this chart, I will put the chart up on screen for you guys as I'm kind of talking about stuff. So so you won't be totally left in the cold, because otherwise that would be a really hard video to watch, is me just sitting there talking to you for an hour and a half, even, you know, as a perk, as a little preview. But still, that would be, I don't even think I could do that. So all right, let's see. This is a fun one. This is from astronaut candidate Arthur channel. This is 100 plus 6th grade students at Beckman Middle School with Todd Cohorst standing by waiting to watch Henry the astronaut fly to space. That is so cool. Todd's responsible for education outreach. CDC's mission microgravity. That is super cool. Well, hello to all of the students over there at Beckman Middle School. For those of you tuning in, that's very awesome. We're excited to hopefully see your payload launch to space today. Again, this is rocket science, and there are delays to be. Oh, we have a new T0, my friends, and it's not too far off, actually. That's pretty impressive. Wow. Okay. They are going for a new local T0 time of 6:59. Interesting that they didn't just go with 7, but 6:59. I'm going to go ahead and tweet that here for a second. Give me 1 second. Wait, what would that be? That'd be 1:59 UTC. 6:59 Pacific, PM Pacific. That would be 1:59 UTC. Awesome. All right, so we've got the clock back to T minus 44 minutes and counting. That's not bad. That's a pretty quick recycle. That's good for those of us that are spaceflight fans. Again, for those of you, if you've been around before, watched rockets launch, especially test flight vehicles and first launches, I'm looking at you, Starship. You guys know what it's like sometimes when you're just waiting, going, is this thing going to launch today? And just that kind of those ups and downs. But you know, that sweet and what's the saying? The sweet and salty? No, the sweet and sour. There we go. You know, you have to experience the sour in order to enjoy the sweet. So sometimes having a vehicle scrub and kind of play with your emotions a little bit, just make it that much more rewarding. That's at least for me. I know that's true for me. Like I have been to, I think the one that was maybe the ultimate for me to see in person was EFT-1. It was the first time that that NASA's Orion capsule flew on top of a Delta IV Heavy rocket out of Kennedy Space Center. And I think it only actually scrubbed one day, but that reset, I mean, it was a 24-hour scrub, but you know, there's like a 4-hour window and we're sitting there going, is this thing going to fly? Is it gonna, you know, and just that whole thing. But by the time it took off the next day, I was like so excited to see it fly. I don't know, something about that. It's just a normal part of space flight. You guys, if you're new, you'll know, you might not be familiar with that, but those of you that know, you know what it's like. So let's see. I'm not sure what all these mean, but that's cool. Let's see. Okay, this is an interesting question from Tanner. Just getting here, I was wondering why you think, or wondering what you think of replacing stage 0 with a magnetic levitation train angled up the side of a mountain to get some initial velocity. So we get asked questions like this quite a bit. Why don't they launch from a mountaintop, or why don't or air launch like Virgin Orbit does? The simple matter of fact is, you have to consider the cost of what it takes to have. Well, first off, for a mountain, it's really considered a big no-no to fly a fully fueled rocket over populated areas. So you'd have to find a mountaintop that is right next to the ocean. Any good-sized mountain likely isn't anywhere near the ocean, especially on an eastern seaboard, right? So if you wanted to say launch from 3 kilometers or something on top of a mountain, that's a pretty big mountain. That's still not very much vertical velocity either. You're still not, you're not getting any velocity. And there's a lot of velocity involved in reaching orbit. You need to be going almost 28,000 kilometers an hour, 17,500 miles an hour sideways in order to actually get in orbit, because you have to, think of it like if you launch if you threw a football, it's kind of going to go up an arc. But if you want to throw it further, you need to get a lot more velocity and it will arc. And then you just think about the faster you're making something go, the further that arc gets. And eventually that arc gets big enough to literally just go around the world. And assuming you're above the atmosphere, there's nothing to slow you back down, and you'll maintain that orbit for a long time. There is, of course, still, it's not like the atmosphere just turns off. There's still a trace amount of atmosphere in low Earth orbits, so eventually stuff there does deorbit, but that's besides the point. That's the general concept. But as far as things like levitation, like magnetic, trains, or having something throw a rocket, you just look at what would the cost of that system be. What is the danger of that system if something goes wrong? And one of the biggest things is it's really considered a good idea to turn your rocket on before you let it go, right? So if you're throwing your rocket off of a levitation train, or, maglev train, sorry, or some kind of, a plane, even like what Virgin rocket up the side of a mountain, trying to get a lot of velocity and a lot of altitude out of it, there's a chance that you let go of it and then it just goes, not today, boom, and just, falls on its face, and that would not be a good thing. The other big thing too is, what's it actually cost? How much fuel and how much bigger do you need to make the rocket to just launch at sea level, where you have infrastructure, you have people, you have roads, you have all of these things that are good when you're having to work on the rocket, work on the launch pad, get trucks out there with fuel, all of these things. Imagine having to get trucks up a mountain every time you have to launch a rocket. It'd just be a logistic nightmare. There's a lot of these considerations, and at the end of the day, the general consensus for everyone is it's just a lot easier, a lot simpler to just launch at sea level, even though you're not getting that extra bit of, vacuum optimization out of your nozzles, and you're not getting any extra velocity per se, but that's, so looks like we may need to have you guys, you guys might need to refresh. Some of this could actually be on YouTube's end. We've had this happen before, where the stream aggregator on YouTube actually kind of lets us down, and this could be one of those days. I was actually having problems with YouTube earlier on my phone even, so first off, thank you very much. What sort of payloads is Firefly expecting to fly in terms of weight and size, and how does this compare to other providers? So again, we did a video about this here recently. So they can, so Firefly can launch to a sun-synchronous orbit. It can launch 630 kilograms. Now, if they were to launch just to LEO, like a more of an equatorial orbit, they could actually reach. They could do a full ton to orbit. They could do, which is pretty impressive. But they are limited to 630 kilograms. But that's still a lot. That's bigger than everyone else that has flown to date so far in the small sat launch industry, or has even attempted to fly, including what Astra is currently flying, what Rocket Lab's currently capable of, and what Launcher 1 is currently capable of. So again, going to sun-synchronous orbit, which is basically like a polar orbit, it can do 630 kilograms as opposed to Launcher 1's 300. Rocket Lab at that is 200 kilograms. And Astra currently is I believe 50 kilograms. I believe 50 kilograms, but I feel like they actually, that might be to just Leo. They might be slightly, but I think it's about 50 kilograms. So it's actually a pretty good size. You can launch pretty decent size, small, not just CubeSats, not just, you know, smaller 1U, 2U CubeSats and stuff like that, and small sats. You can actually start getting into like, yeah, the bigger size small sats, like, which is really cool. So they are tapping into a slightly, the kind of the upper end of the small sat launch industry. And they can also stack multiple satellites inside of their fairing and launch multiple small sats. So it's pretty cool that they have that capability, that it is on the bigger end of the small sat industry. And I think, you know, a lot of these companies are trying to find that sweet spot here. They're trying to find what's the cost of this launch rocket? What's it cost us to make it and fly it and do it again every time? What's that actually cost us? How do we make that profitable? And most importantly, where are the customers at? How many customers are there for our capability of rocket? It doesn't make any sense to make a bigger, more powerful rocket if there aren't those demands and payloads. At the end of the day, sometimes just the bottom dollar matters most for some people, as opposed to capability. If you're not fulfilling that capability, why build it bigger, right? So, so that's what all of these companies are kind of working on doing, is finding that sweet spot. Again, one of the things that I like about what Firefly did is the Reaver engine being relatively simple. It's simple and it's elegant and it's very few parts compared to a traditional gas generator or closed cycle rocket engine. But you know, they still had to work some magic, like I was talking about earlier, because it is tap off. They had to make sure that the turbine can handle the main combustion exhaust, which is, they probably worked a little bit of magic to make that happen. But at the same time, at the end of the day, that's probably a relatively easy engine to work on and produce and go through the testing campaign. It's relatively small. It's extremely powerful. Its thrust to weight ratio is probably pretty great. The specific impulse of them, the sea level one doesn't quite reach 300 seconds of a specific impulse, but the Lightning gets, I think it's around 330. So again, you lose a little bit of efficiency when you actually do the tap off cycle, but it's, as far as being simple and easy to manufacture, without having to worry about a pre-burner and all that stuff, it should be a really good idea. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So 322 seconds says flow in a vacuum. Thank you for reminding me. Let's see. Yes, sorry about, there appears to be some sync issues with my audio and video. We'll see. We have kind of limited capacity at this point. There we go. We're seeing some big puffs of gaseous oxygen. That is probably good signs of, you know, the recycle going forward. So, like we said, we actually do have confirmation that the T0 is still up to date. And again, they are targeting 6:59 Pacific time, which is 1:59 UTC. For this next launch opportunity. And another reminder, they do have a full 4-hour launch window. So they, as long as they don't run out of fuel, because every time you do retop off a rocket, you typically have to pressurize it and kind of continue to load it. So there is, but they can sit there generally pretty happy, fully fueled, especially RP1, no big deal. Liquid oxygen, you might have limited finite amounts of liquid oxygen available, as we are kind of hearing some of that. So, let's see. This is a good question here from Shikamu1 saying, could Alpha send things to the moon or Mars, or will we need to wait for version beta to fly? Absolutely. A small sat launcher can send things to the moon, 100%. Can't send big things to the moon, but it can send stuff to the moon. Again, the Rocket Lab's Electron is actually already flying something to the moon, supposedly really soon. I think that's supposed to be here either this year or soon next year. But that's a small rocket, and that can actually get something to the moon. Now, again, of course, you know, everything just matters on your delta V. That's kind of the range of your car, or the range of your rocket. So if you need to go faster, which if you can go faster means you can get into a higher orbit, you're affected by, you know, how big your rocket is versus how far you're going and how heavy the payload is. So if you have a light payload, you can actually send it really far. Now, heavier payload, obviously you have a lot more mass you're trying to push around, so that same rocket can't take that payload very far. So yeah, Firefly's Alpha can absolutely get something to the moon. I think I don't see any reason why they couldn't. It's not that much more delta V to go from the moon to an interplanetary trajectory like Venus or Mars. And actually, again, Electron actually, I think, is going to Venus on their Electron, I believe. Was it Electron, or they're trying to do that on Neutron? But yeah, I think that's super cool. So, all right. Oh, this is cool from Cody saying, my dad's batteries and a lot of other things are in that rocket. So proud. That is definitely something to be proud of, Cody. Cheers to your dad and all others who worked on this rocket or on any of the payloads on this rocket. That would be, I can't even imagine having your own hardware on a vehicle, you know, and just be knowing that all, you know, they all have to work together. There's like 1,000 things, there's a million things that can go wrong with a rocket, but they all have to go right on launch day in order to actually get to orbit. So pretty crazy. Yeah, so let's see. So this is from Ali Angel 500 saying, how did you protect Flamey End Cam? Well, we didn't actually. That is actually one of the assets provided by Firefly. So they have their own, you know, they have to make housings and have all these protective lenses and everything to have a camera anywhere near that close to the rocket, near the flamey end of a rocket. Yeah, you better believe it's in a nice big protective housing. So that is something that is proprietary to them. So yeah, we're just able to tap into that, and we're really thankful, even if just for a brief second. So this is from James Mays saying, I'm asking if I'm thinking about releasing the Soviet rocket engine family on the documentary circuit of film festivals. I don't think so, because it's still very much, you know, obviously I want everything that I do on YouTube to be as highest quality as possible. I really take a lot of care in, you know, how good this video is going to look, and especially the research that's been involved has been extremely thorough and making sure that it's done right. That being said, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'd fit the bill for something like that. We're not doing, when you have normally like an hour-long documentary, if you took out all the little breaks and the little like music swells and the extra little going to this shot and then back to this shot, you probably are like, you could probably have it if you get down to just the brass tacks, like just the bare minimum of what's actually, you know, the information being portrayed to you. And that's actually what this video is. It's just going to be an hour and a half plus of just basically a fire hose of information. If I were to try to make it into a dramatic, I thought about shooting it, and actually we talked about it on air a couple times about shooting it, you know, in Russia and trying to do a documentary style out of this video. This is not the right video to try to do that. I will hopefully still try to get to Russia someday. I really want to do like a more of a documentary style video that's shot in that way about Buran and about saving Buran. So yeah, good. It looks like This is I agree with this. Malawa 2 saying this is one of the most beautiful rockets I've ever seen. Miss your stream so much, Tim. Well, I'm back. Don't worry. I'm trying to just get into a healthier relationship with always streaming. There's a lot of awesome streamers out there. There's a lot of incredible YouTube channels that are covering streams really, really well today. You know, there's a lot of them. I want to only cover the ones that, you know, I don't want to be doing the 3 a.m. to watch a Starlink mission. No offense, Starlink and SpaceX. You guys are doing amazing things, of course, but I want to try to do ones that are new and exciting and just kind of pull at me, or I have some kind of relationship to, or that I can offer some kind of extra little bit of something, you know. Otherwise, it just sort of feels like, why would I stream? I would rather be working on the Soviet rocket engine video that I'm really excited about. Like every time you stream, there's actually a lot of work involved before and after that take away times and opportunities to work on something else. So, yeah. So there we go. This is a good question here from Artem. What does PEUFED mean? That is pointy end up, flamey end down. That was confirmed by Adam Oakes, the launch director, on comms at 6:02 p.m. So we literally heard from Mission Control them do a call out that the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down, which is just absolutely awesome. So again, huge shout out to Firefly for playing along with us with that. Just crazy. So it's fun that we had NASA Spaceflight in the house. We also have my friend Marcus House as well. Again, lots of, as I mentioned, there's just awesome, there's really, really good people out there working on a lot of facets of aerospace and aerospace communication, spaceflight communication. Again, I think all ships rise with the tide. We're all learning together. We're all, everyone kind of has their own angle and their own things that they do unique. So big fan of Marcus House. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. So this is from Musical Wolves. Good question here. Green Starship flames are bad. Why is Firefly flames start as green? This is a fantastic question. So the green that you see in the startup of this and SpaceX's Falcon 9 is from that T-tab, and I believe it's actually the aluminum, or is I believe it's from the aluminum. Is that what burns green? Aluminum? But if not, so yeah, I believe it is what burns green. So that's the green that you're seeing in that flash is from the T-tab, the triethyl aluminum triethylborine. That is their starting fluid, basically. That's their ignition fluid, and that is a pyrophoric mixture. So when it comes in contact with oxygen, it spontaneously will combust the second it comes in contact with oxygen. So they inject that into the combustion chamber. They start flowing liquid oxygen in there, and you'll get stable combustion reliably and quickly. So that's what T-tab is. And yeah, so that's why it's green. Now, on the other hand, when Starship was running extremely lean, it started actually burning. You were seeing a very hot oxygen start to burn through metal components of the engine. And it was those same types of metal components that run, that when they're being burnt, turn green. So you're seeing for Starship, when it was trying to land on, I believe SN8 was kind of the ultimate example where we saw a big green flame coming out of it at the bottom. That was not T-tab. That was not any kind of ignition fluid. That was the engine eating itself, and you were seeing the green flare of the engines. So, oh, the green is the boron. There we go. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's thank you. There we go. Boron, apparently. And so, yeah, copper for Starship would be what is typically green. And also, you need to think about, too, one of the fun things is on the Delta IV Heavy and the Delta IV, previously the Delta IV Medium, that use an ablative nozzle, which that actually burns bright orange, because when the carbon gets burnt, it burns bright orange flame. So even though the flame on the Delta IV Heavy on the RS-68A engine, even though it's a hydrogen and a hydrolux-powered engine, typically would be a totally clear flame, because it's an ablative nozzle, it actually does burn some carbon as it ablates the nozzle off. So it's kind of fun that you can see the different colors and different flames mean different things in different rockets. Sorry, that was a long. This is security's the trap. This I will take this as a serious question. If Firefly is successful, do you think Bezos will file lawsuits against them as well? So the current round of legal debacle in spaceflight, specifically with Bezos and SpaceX, are things that they're in direct competition for. The Human Landing Systems contract, as well as there's also some FCC filings that they're trying to get up in a tough about Starlink. And of course, that's because Amazon is working on they hope to do a satellite constellation as well. And I guess at this point, I'm not a big fan of all this litigation. Like, it's like, just build stuff and start flying, my friends. Firefly is out there hitting the pad already. This is impressive. In just 4 years, hitting the pad with an orbital rocket. Yeah, there would be nothing, the lawsuits are at this point are becoming pretty silly. And I hope that at some point someone just says, no, let's start building stuff. And I think a lot of people at Blue Origin would also want that too. The engineers, the specialists that are out there trying to actually build rockets, I'm sure they're like, guys, let's just put this money towards building rockets. So I don't think there's anything that could be a lawsuit on this vehicle, because it's not in direct competition with anything. But yeah. All right, so would the geomagnetic storm affect rocket launch communications? It could actually, yeah, because I don't know for sure. Now, again, I'm not a rocket scientist, I'm not a communication specialist, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff actually affects communications in spaceflight. You have solar flares and big and radiation and a lot of things that can directly affect your communication. And I would imagine that a geomagnetic storm could directly affect that as well. And even, yeah, like the Northern Lights can actually start playing around with stuff too. There's a lot of crazy things that are really, big picture things. It's like, man, I didn't even realize that, a solar flare was going to knock out communications on our rocket for X amount of time, or our payload. So yeah. Okay. Again, thank you guys. I'm trying to get through as many of these questions as I can. I'm not going to get to everything because I'm already way behind. Oh, this is just a sweet love letter to a loved one going through our channel. Thank you for that. It's not to me. I had to read it a couple times, but there you go. from Multiverse Official to Nayane. That's very sweet. Oh, a little innocent love letter on air. I love that. All right, this is from let's see. This is from James Bramlett. It's like sports, but a fan of every team. Did we partner with NSF or Cosmic Perspective for ground cams, or is this all? So this is actually all pretty much Firefly. We're just tapping into their cameras. So we didn't actually end up putting up any cameras out at Vandenberg Space Force Base at the behest of Andrew, who would have really liked to do that. I would have liked to do that too. And that was kind of an option on the table for us for a little bit, but I actually had to pull the plug on it just from utter lack of energy again at this point. So yeah. Andrew Johnson, we're trying, anytime the net comes up, I will be quiet, but we don't always have the net in our ear. So when it is on program and when we can hear it, I'll go silent as soon as I can. So assuming it's something important, especially. So you caught me there saying the best part is no part. I may or may not have stolen that from a certain individual. All right, that's that sign right there. When we're seeing the venting again, that is normal. That's not like fire or anything. That is quite literally condensation. That's just a big old cloud of gaseous oxygen coming in contact with the water vapor in the air. It's still really cold. You know, when gaseous oxygen is having recently boiled off from a liquid, it's normally minus 100 and 83 degrees Celsius is the boiling, the melt, or the liquefaction point of oxygen. As it warms up, it again expands about 1,000 times in volume. So you actually do have to vent it. Now, of course, if it was at minus 183 degrees Celsius and it just goes down to, gets a little bit warmer to minus 170 degrees Celsius, that's still really cold. And so when it comes out and reaches the air, it actually just makes ice crystals with the water vapor in the air. And that's why you see those clouds of condensation. Then, of course, as those clouds trail off, they get warmer and those ice crystals melt and they just get back to normal water vapor. Fun little, that's why you see all of this, what looks like smoke kind of coming off the rocket. That's just simply condensation. Let's see. This is Conan James Evans. Hey, Tim, would you rather see a Mars landing or linear aerospike successful flight and landing? Man, that's you can have both things. Those two things can exist in the same universe. So I'm going to say absolutely both, because I feel like they absolutely could both exist. Now, of course, if you don't know why, I love Aerospike shirts. I love Aerospikes. That's why it's on my shirt. The Aerospike engine is just a really cool concept. As a matter of fact, Firefly was originally working on an Aerospike. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm wearing this shirt today. When they were Firefly Space Systems, their Alpha rocket was going to be utilizing an Aerospike engine. And that's actually how I heard about them first, was because of that attempt. Now, when they refigured and started with a clean slate on their new rocket engines, they went with the Reavers. Again, totally different engine type. Arguably, probably a good idea. I think you only want to pursue an Aerospike engine if you are borderline crazy, or if you actually have a program, a successful program running and you're profitable and you see an actual engineering reason to use an Aerospike. There are some use cases still to utilize an Aerospike potentially, but almost everyone that's ever worked on one just says at the end of the day, you get pretty much right back to where you would have been with a traditional Bell engine, but you now have 4 times more work and a finicky engine that has a lot more potential and a lot more parts that could potentially fail. So yeah. All right. So that's the history of Aerospikes. But I definitely want to see humans on Mars. It just says another Mars landing. Not humans on Mars. You didn't say humans on Mars. You just said another Mars landing. I would, at this point, if it was between just like another, we'll say, Phoenix lander style or something like Insight, just a regular lander, not even a rover, I would rather see an Aerospike personally, because that would just be really cool to see. All right. So this is from Jesse. It's amazing to see new companies growing out and making this space race a monumental thing to see. Imagine seeing this many companies in the 60s trying to reach the stars. That's absolutely right. That's what I'm so excited about too, is that we live in an era. Oh, we apparently are go for terminal count. All right. We are back in it. They're still moving forward. We have official confirmation. Again, we'll be able to bring you guys the countdown net and the actual Mission control audio is around. They'll probably release it to us around T minus 15 minutes or so. But again, the next thing that we're waiting for is around T minus 5.5 minutes or so. We should see the strong back that actually will pull away from the rocket. That's the thing that's holding onto the rocket right now, keeping it safe. And then that will slightly recline back a little bit away from the rocket at about T minus 5.5 minutes. So that's what we're waiting for next. But they're moving forward again for another launch attempt, again at 6:59 Pacific Standard Time, or Pacific Time PM, which is 1:59 UTC. So again, in just 17.5 minutes or so. So yeah. Yeah, Andrew's telling me that we could actually show the static fire video with audio. I didn't know we had that as an option. How do we have that? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think at some point we will be showing the static fire video again too when we get the comms audio going. That would be very cool. So again, okay. Do whatever you want, Andrew. We're
O2's 3%.
15.
Oh yeah, we actually hear
Blood
the
pressure towards the
comms. This
abort.
was
10,
from their static fire.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Burn, baby, burn.
O2's 9%. Diverter looks okay. Plan looks good. 12% O2. Give a plus count, please.
14.
Plus 15.
16% on O2.
Made it all the way.
I love that. I love that. I love the burn, baby, burn. So that was from their static fire, which was what, 2 weeks ago or so? Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And that was from their successful full duration static fire. They successfully did a 15-second static fire as planned with the entire vehicle stacked. Super cool. Yeah. So again, they've gone through this whole operation now. So the next thing left in the scheme of like, how do we launch a rocket for our very first time is once you light up the engines, just like they did, you let go of the rocket. There's actually 4 launch clamps that hold onto this rocket. And once there's good confirmation that all engines are running again, they get the engines running at about, the ignition's about 2 minus 2 seconds or so. Once the engines are up to full operational, everything is looking good. The computers will basically all automatically be like, okay, go, go, go. And then if everything is looking good, the launch clamp will just let go of the rocket. And then of course, at that point, there's more thrust coming from the flamey end of the rocket than the rocket weighs. So the rocket will begin to ascend. And that's something that we're still hoping to see here today. And again, friendly reminder, this is their first launch ever, their first launch attempt ever of a brand new rocket that's never flown from a brand new rocket company that's never launched anything into orbit as a launch provider. So this is a big deal. This is, again, no rocket launch providers tried streaming their first attempts because typically, to be perfectly honest, they're typically pretty messy. A first rocket launch attempt tends to be pretty messy. But so we're going to be able to listen in here to the launch director, the launch director audio here in Mission Control. So again, I will kind of go quiet if I hear things on the net. But
T-minus
again,
15 minutes. The auto sequence is now synced with the countdown clock.
That's awesome. So, okay, again, just a friendly reminder, though, is that if this does not go as planned, it's still a huge milestone.
14.5 minutes. The engine chill has begun and FireX is configured.
Cool. They're progressing forward. So, so let's make sure we have a positive attitude as general observers of spaceflight. We get to still cheer for any progress in getting a orbital rocket to the launch pad for the first time. And even if it gets off the launch pad a little bit, that would be a milestone, right? That would be some data
GC for VC on ground.
That would be, a step moving forward. So, yeah, we're obviously hoping they have big plans. They're aiming for orbit. They're literally just going for it right away.
T-minus 14 minutes. RC, please contact the range and coordinate to begin recording RF tapes at T-minus 10 minutes.
Complete.
Okay. Some of the stuff will sound familiar. We had this, they're going through their checklist as they go down the sequence here. So We're going to be hearing a lot of call-outs about, recording, because it is valuable data to have video cameras pointed at, the rocket from all different angles if there is an anomaly. Some of those cameras are what helped SpaceX solve the Amos 6 issue that happened, was that 5 years ago yesterday, or was that 6 years ago? When was that? 2016, 5 years ago. September 1st, 2016, I believe. No, was it 2015? 2015, I think. I don't remember. But anyway, when that happened, they actually had to utilize a lot of ground tracking cameras to help solve what had actually happened as an anomaly. So that is a very valuable asset, the visual asset.
13 minutes. Ground side preparations, including TBC, T-tab, and spin start verifications have complete.
So everything's still looking good. That's exactly what we want to hear. We want to see them continue to move through this process. Yeah, very cool. All right. And this is cool. We have James Pettit out there literally hoping to see it from his backyard. That is cool. Living on the West Coast, living in California today would... And actually, I'm not asking
now review
for
actions
scrub.
on CD1. In the event of abort, we will perform the following steps. We will confirm there are no fires around the engine, utilizing FireX as called out by LD. If there are no fires, GC will turn off the world purge. We'll confirm vehicle health. The pre-valves are closed. Helium bubble is active. S1 fuel tank is maintaining between 30 and 36 psia as read on A1S1 CFT. We will verify other vehicle tanks are vented. We'll confirm ground side health. The T-tab tank is vented, TVC tank is vented, spin system is vented, and cavity purges are active. We'll confirm with the range rotated disarm and power down the ESADs, and then we'll power off stage 1 and stage 2 FTS. We'll transition back to manual power. We'll re-engage the strongback via command changes on the hydraulics page. Error code 016 is expected to abort after T-minus 30 seconds. In the event of liftoff, operations team will move to the ground net and perform PRC MLP 1438, and RC will perform 1435 set operations on CD1. In the event of a hang fire, we will perform PRC MLP 8304.
Okay, so what I was talking about earlier for just a second is one good thing would be if they would have to scrub again later into the window today, we might see a beautiful twilight phenomenon where sunset out there is 7:30 and this is launching at 7. So if it were to launch around, say, 8 o'clock p.m., the rocket would be launching at nighttime on the ground. It'd be ground already, the sun would be down, it'd be dusk, and the rocket would be flying up, and it would actually get to the point where it's illuminated by the sun. And now, because it'd be West Coast, the sun would actually be back illuminating the exhaust plume, which is gorgeous. If you haven't ever seen a rocket launch that is being backlit, illuminated, it creates this beautiful thing called the twilight phenomenon.
on GSW next.
And it's just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. So if this would to get pushed back, we would at least have that bonus of the next opportunity in this window. Might be right during the twilight phenomenon. So I wouldn't complain if that was the case. Again, remember, this is their first attempt ever. So we need to offer up some grace. And again, thanks to Firefly for allowing us to stream this and for this level of transparency. Even the comms, I mean, we're hearing comms. We have trench cam. They did a pointy end up flaming on down check. Total win in my book. Like
LC, RC, countdown cool. 1, recorders are on at TROs.
Copy RC.
I love just seeing people just cheering on Firefly. I think that's super cool. You know, again, as a card-carrying member of Team Space, I'm just more people excited about spaceflight. This is a fun company that works really hard and is doing some really unique things. But they have a great company culture. I got to visit them in January. Walking around was awesome. You can just tell when people enjoy what they're working on. And the teams that I interacted with and everyone they were so excited about the things they're working on. I mean, it is just awesome. It's unbelievable that you can have a field out in Austin where people are just building rockets in some hangars. I think it's super cool. Really impressed though with how they've ramped up production already, and they're going for it. They're really just going for it. And then their headquarters in Austin is really cool. So yeah, I'm a big fan. This, like I said, this does mean a lot to me to be able to be the official stream provider for them. I don't know why they're trusting me to do this. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm Tim. I don't work for Firefly. So the fact that they're trusting me to just talk about stuff, pretty nuts. Pretty cool on their end. Sorry, I was trying to listen to that. This is a great question here, asking from Oscar if I would make a video about tap-off cycle rocket engine, because it isn't in the Raptor King of Rocket Engine video that I made, where we talk about engine cycles. That is an upcoming video where I will just do a video only about engine cycle types, because there are other ones that we didn't talk about in that video, and I think it would honestly make a lot of sense to just make a dedicated video about how you can make a rocket engine run and the different cycle types. We can talk about tap-off, we can talk about the bleed expander cycle and the expander cycle. There's a lot of different tricks up sleeves that we didn't even begin to touch on in that video. So it'd be really fun to do a comprehensive video for you guys, because the tap-off cycle they're using here is really unique. And like I said, no rocket that utilizes the tap-off cycle has ever made it to orbit. I don't even think there's been a rocket that's attempted to go to orbit with a tap-off cycle. It is a very unique solution, and it's so cool that they're utilizing it on their rocket. Again, it's actually a pretty, as far as liquid-fueled bipropellant engines, it is a really surprisingly simple solution. It's almost as simple like the electric pump fed and pressure fed.
F2 TBC wiggles.
That's stage 2. They're double checking that the engine up there in stage 2 inside the inner stage is wiggling. They kind of wiggle it. We can't see that visually, so that is a sensor thing. They might have a camera up in the inner stage that would show them that wiggle to confirm, but yeah, but I'd say tap off, as far as the amount of moving parts and everything, is about as simple as it gets for bipropellant outside of like pressure fed and electric pump fed. It's a really unique solution, and like I said, it's not the most efficient thing in the world, but that efficiency doesn't really matter at the end of the day, right? You're really worried about how much does it cost me to make an engine, how much does it cost me to produce this engine, and to the research and development of this engine. Kind of that dollar per kilogram of thrust concept almost. And if you're producing an engine really cheap,
LCDC on CD1.
Go for LC on CD1.
We are looking good for clearing the LCC gate at T-minus 3 minutes.
Copy that. T-minus 6 minutes, Alpha switch to internal power. Strong back retrack operations will begin shortly. Arms are open.
Little spicy debate there of shuttle versus Baran.
Strong back retract.
So you can see now.
LCC gate checks for the T-minus 2 minute checks. T-minus 2 minute checks. Any
Inward.
no-go at this time will be an automatic abort.
You can see there the strong back retracting. Again, that's a good sign. So that's right on. So the next thing we'll hear is they'll talk about the flight termination system being
T-minus 5
armed.
minutes, strong back is secured in the launch position.
Again, I gotta say, for their first launch attempt, it just sounds like everything's, they have such a nice order to things, and things are just running so smoothly. It's really impressive to see this for a first time launch ever. I did see a really good question right now from Grant. I'm just going to pull this up here real quick. Then we'll try to get back to some of the other ones. What is it exhausting off the rocket? So again, it's literally what you're seeing coming off is literally just boil off of liquid oxygen. So there's a lot of liquid oxygen on this vehicle, and when it warms up, it expands, it heats up, and it'll shoot out the side of the rocket. They vent it because when you take a liquid oxygen and expand it into a gas, heats up and turns into a gas, it expands 1,000 times. So you can't have that inside the vehicle anymore, so you vent it out, and that's what you're seeing. And that's totally normal. Again, think of like opening a freezer on a hot day or something.
FTS confirm FTRs are active and range is transmitting check channel 4.
FTRs are active and range is transmitting check channel 4.
Note the Arm Enable 2 command must be received by the ESI within 30 seconds of receiving the Arm Enable 1 command. FTS, send Arm Enable 1 command to all ESAs.
Arm Enable 1 command being sent in 3, 2, 1, mark.
FTS, send Arm Enable 2 command to all ESAs.
Arm enable 2 command being sent to all ESADs in 3, 2, 1, mark.
FTS confirm all ESADs are enabled.
All ESADs are enabled and armed.
All right, so that it means the flight termination system is officially active on the rocket. And again, if there were to be an anomaly with this vehicle...
T-minus 2 gate complete.
Copy, C. T-minus 3 minutes. Fuel bleed is starting.
All right. My heart rate is racing again. Yeah, so again, flight termination system armed. If this thing gets off the pad and starts to ascend, and if there is an anomaly where, you know, guidance doesn't work correctly or something, they have the option of aborting the rocket, which will terminate the rocket and make sure it doesn't fly towards, you know, Los Angeles or nearby Lompoc or Santa Barbara or something like that. You know, that is a requirement for orbital launch vehicles, especially when you have this much payload and this much fuel on board. They have to make sure the public is safe. That is what the flight termination system is for. But yeah, they're going for it though. Again, guys, remember, this is their first ever launch attempt. So we'll be listening in here during these last 2 minutes for any kind of call out.
T-minus 2 minutes. CE has completed their final LCC. Checks for launch. This is the final commit for launch. CE.
Send it again.
Launch director.
Go.
LDA.
LDA, you go for launch.
Copy, LDA. VC, please verify Alpha transitions to autonomous mode at T-minus 30 seconds.
Luca.
Send it again. I love that. That was referring to the rocket. He's saying, send it. And he had already said that on the net
Wait,
earlier, so saying, send it again. They're ready. They are ready to launch this thing. I love that. That scared me. That was loud. Here we go. Coming up on T-minus 1 minute.
60 seconds.
Oxic press has started.
Trench cams looking awfully condensed there.
To stop the count, operators please declare abort, abort, abort on CD1, and VC will abort the auto sequence. VC at T-minus 30 seconds, verify Alpha transitions to autonomous.
30 seconds.
2 engine levels are at 2%.
$20.
Oh, geez, that little bit of gimbal there.
15.
Here we go. Good luck,
10,
Firefly.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Abort.
4, 3, 2, 1. 0100 Zulu.
RC transition operation procedures to PRC NLP 1435, IT commits to PRC NLP 1457, report anomaly. Please confirm I have no fires on the pad. I have no visual. Please confirm no fires on the pad. Moving to ground.
I'm looking. I'm about to send them all to pad sweep. Cameras are sweeping the pad.
Plus 32 seconds.
Stage 2 pressure's up.
Prop call.
Prop is nominal.
Oh my god, they're doing it.
GNC.
I'm seeing a dip in VMAG.
There's no fires on the pad.
Avionics.
Responding AVI. S1 pressure profile nominal. Avionics power nominal.
The
Telemetry
first
is
ever
nominal.
attempt. This is their first ever attempt at going to space and going into orbit ever. And they're coming up right now on maximum aerodynamic pressure. That is the moment where the vehicle will experience
plus 130
the most amount of aerodynamic pressure. So this is when you're really testing your fuselage. Is it going to hold up? We are going through that right now. So the vehicle is clearly holding up. That is a great milestone. We might even hear Max Q call out on the comms
Not yet
net.
supersonic.
Not yet supersonic. That's maybe not great. The vehicle, there's a chance it could be slightly underperforming, but again, we'll wait to hear official call outs here. But this, again, first launch attempt ever of this vehicle. It's unbelievable. They got off on their first try on their first day of their first attempt ever. This is unbelievable. Again, if they get to stage separation, that's going to be a huge milestone.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Vehicle is supersonic. Wow. That's a good
anomaly.
Anomaly.
There has been an anomaly.
Move the anomaly team to procedure MLP.
Shoot. Oh, man. Shoot. Oh, that was impressive, though. That was impressive. I was actually speechless. I just really didn't think they would go for it on their first launch window opportunity ever. Wow. Wow. Everyone, just send Firefly your love and say thank you, Firefly, for allowing us to stream that. I mean, they didn't have to do that. They did not have to do that at all. They absolutely just showed warts and everything. Mad props. Everyone, just here in chat, just everyone say congrats, Firefly, because they did a lot today. They did a massive amount of impressive milestones. I mean, even getting off of the pad with your first orbital rocket is a huge, huge milestone. So I'm still incredibly proud of the teams at Firefly, and I'm again so thankful that you let us stream your first ever attempt. No one has done that in recent history. No one has tried live streaming their first attempt because they're normally pretty ugly. That actually looked pretty good. That looked pretty darn good. Looks like they were almost to stage separation. So again, huge congrats, Firefly. Everyone, round of applause in chat. This is not even a need for F to pay respects. But you know what? I'll let you guys go for it. Let's hear those Fs to pay respect for Firefly and the beautiful Alpha rocket on its first launch attempt. I was actually speechless, man. That was a great first attempt. That was an amazing first attempt. And so the cool thing here is they'll only learn from here. Think about how much data they just gathered about their rocket, how much data they have now that will actually give them flight conditions of their engines, of their tanks, of their, of their helium pressurization, of their avionics. Actual data is worth so much money and so much time. You can simulate things all day long, but until you actually go out there and fly and actually see how these things that you're simulating work in the real world, you don't know. You just do not know. So that was unbelievably impressive. I'm sure they're disappointed they didn't make it to orbit, but frankly, I mean, that would have been that just really has never happened for a first time for any rocket company. So again, hopefully they learned a ton. That is almost 3 minutes. Yeah, I did hear on launch call out, there actually was someone that said T-minus 4 seconds or so, that someone did say aborted. So maybe they'll learn something that was off nominal. But yeah, it could have been a hot mic explaining something else too. So we don't need to read too much into that. I'm not going to be here to speculate what happened. We'll wait to hear from the official teams as far as what went wrong in a couple of days. Give them some time to do an anomaly investigation and learn what exactly happened. But again, mad props, Firefly. You're literally definitely one of my favorite launch companies now for allowing us to stream and allowing the world to witness your first attempt ever. Mad props. So, yeah, let's get back to a couple questions. Again, yeah, I almost need to, man, I feel like I almost just need to take a, so, we actually could see a replay. There really wasn't much to see, but, let's see. Oh, we already have an official statement from Firefly. Let me pull this up here real quick. 1 second, Andrew. I apparently need to do some of this. 1 second, and I'll get this pulled up here. Okay, let's see what we got. So, Andrew, when you get a second here, this is officially from Firefly Alpha experienced an anomaly during first stage ascent that resulted in the loss of the vehicle. As we gather more information, additional details will be provided. I have no doubt how transparent this company has been. So, yeah, again, let's just await further information from them. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be in a week or two or a month. You know, depending on how obvious the anomaly was, sometimes you really have to dig into some weird little gremlins that you're like, they didn't know. Yeah. All right. So again, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Unfortunately, there was an anomaly. Andrew, do you want to actually update our clock here? Where is it? There you go. So it says something like anomaly or mission over. We've had an anomaly, and it just spills out over our thing. Maybe just say they sent it. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't know what you guys think. But again, we want to be respectful, of course, for allowing us to do this. But yeah, mission over. Little sad face. I think that's an appropriate thing. The mission is over, but the data is still streaming. I think that sums it up perfectly. Good job, Andrew. All right, so this is from Tristan. If you can say this, what is the propellant and specific impulse of this rocket, as well as the starting propellant method used and the thrust to weight ratio of it, and what type of stage separation it can use? So I've got a handful of that. We already have a lot of that information here on our pre-launch preview. So if you need to know anything about this rocket, you can watch. I have a video actually comparing this rocket to a lot of other small sat launchers. If you guys haven't watched that already, just look back. There's only like 2 published videos ago. I think it was who's going to be the new king of small sat launchers. Firefly was mentioned in that video a lot. We went over all the systems, but this rocket does run on RP1, so Kerolox basically, which is mixing kerosene and liquid oxygen. So yeah, so RP1, it's very common in the launch industry. It is a highly refined kerosene. That is what the main propellant of this rocket engine is. They have 4 Reaver engines on the first stage, all of and just shy of 300 seconds of specific impulse at sea level. So they aren't actually, I don't know if that's at sea level. That might actually be in vacuum 300, because the vacuum optimized version produces 324. So yeah, there's a decent chance that that's also quoting vacuum specific impulse for their sea level engines. To start it up on the first stage, they utilize ground based nitrogen, which is just literally basically compressed air. You know, nitrogen composes the vast majority of our atmosphere, and so you just compress nitrogen. It's pretty dense, a lot more dense than helium, so it's good to use that as a ground system. If you don't have to spin that up in the rocket, you can use ground systems to spin up the pumps and get the pumps flowing, get the fuel flowing with the rocket. So that's how you get the thing started. Once the pumps are spinning, you actually start flowing. They first inject something called TTEB. That's triethyl aluminum triethyl borine. That is a pyrophoric act with liquid oxygen, will spontaneously combust and begin stable combustion, at which point they will then start to flow RP1 into the main combustion chamber. That's everything I know. I don't actually know too much about their pusher system or what they actually do for stage separation. If they have like latches on the outside that separate or a big pusher up the middle. I don't actually have that information. That's not something that I know about, but that's everything I pretty much know. Hopefully I don't know the thrust to weight ratio at liftoff either. Yeah. All right. The max payload again, check out, we have the link in the description as well to the pre-launch preview. That talks a lot about the max payload. This vehicle, if it was launching on the East Coast, could launch about a full metric ton, 1,000 kilograms to low Earth orbit. So 2,200 pounds. That you could launch a Mazda Miata basically with this rocket. That's how big this rocket is and powerful. But when it's going to sun synchronous orbit or a polar orbit, like it would be from Vandenberg Space Force Base, which is where it took off from today, kilograms. So it does takes about a 35% payload penalty when you do launch it on an orbit like that. So yeah. All right. So let me try to see. This is something that, again, that we talked about. It sounds like you guys all need to watch our The King of Small Sat Launch Vehicles video, because we do talk about all of that stuff. We didn't really go into the actual dollar per kilogram because, frankly, I don't trust every number that all the different launch providers actually gave us for this stuff. I think some launch providers are being a little more generous or talking about rockets that were future upgrades of their current rockets. But honestly, so yeah, on the chart, you'll see that a rocket like the RS1's ABL's RS1 looks kind of off the charts for dollar per kilogram. I'm not sure if that's true. It's a lot of these companies have yet to even fly or attempt to fly. So a lot of that Terran 1, that could always change. Firefly, they have an actual launch cost of $15 million. That is, you can literally pay them to launch for $15 million, period. And that's a real market price. A lot of other companies might not give you a real market price. So yeah, so we didn't actually do a dollar per kilogram ratio of each rocket because there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of companies that will kind of give you a false quote. But again, Firefly being super transparent, it's like, nope, here's the cost, here's what it can do, period. And so that's kind of that. Again, watch this video though. It is called who will be, I think it's what is the title of it? Who will be the king of small sat launchers or something? Yeah, the king of small sat launchers. So if you guys have any questions about this stuff, watch this video. It is here on YouTube, and you will hopefully learn everything. We even compare it to SpaceX's, the original kind of commercial small sat launcher, SpaceX's Falcon 1 rocket. So yeah, hopefully that's a good resource for you guys. Super clear photo. I appreciate that. Yes, it would be super, super, super fun to actually do a proper documentary about saving Buran. Also, look at me. I get to hold myself in my own hands. Sorry. Sorry, I don't know if it is standard time, Marcus. That's a good question. I always get confused. I forget that there's a difference between standard time and daylight savings time. We should probably just say Pacific when we don't know. Yeah. This is awesome from Matthew Patrick. Hey, Tim, thanks for doing this stream. A great end to hot nozzle summer. You're right. They did the ultimate hot nozzle summer thing. This is the end of summer, basically, and we're moving into fall. This was super cool. So, yeah. All right. Oh, this is a fun fact. Philip, I like this fact. I did not know this. The SR-71's J79 engines were started with TEB, with triethyl borane. Really? Not the triethyl aluminum, just triethyl borane? So, I didn't know. That's very cool. Zach saying, my dad is about to be a certified rocket scientist. Let's go, Firefly. Let's go, Nate. That's very, very cool. I love that. That's so cool. Again, thank you to any new members and all of you guys with great questions and everything. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to get to everything tonight. But yeah, it's just really fun. Oh, shout out to Jeff. I know Jeff Bean. Jeff Beans, who's helping to communicate with us a lot and doing a lot of technical stuff on Firefly's end for the stream. Jeff Bean's been a huge help. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Saying very proud and all of Jeff and all the Firefly crew. I'm still unbelievably proud of Firefly. It's just huge props for the progress they made today. And again, for sharing it with us. This is huge. This is a big day. Don't worry, they have a production system set up now. Making new rockets after the first one's a lot easier than making in place to just start cranking these babies out. So very, very, very cool. I love seeing all these people that had tuned in. So that's super cool. And Brian Lagerstrom saying, Tim, you're part of the reason I started my own channel, about to hit 150,000 subscribers. That's awesome. Cheers to you, Brian. Very, very cool. This is so awesome. There's so many people that know people on the Firefly team. It's just really fun seeing well wishes for everybody. So yeah, I'm sorry that I probably won't be able to get to everything, but very cool seeing all these well wishes for the teams. Continue to support them, guys. Don't forget to find Firefly on Twitter. They will definitely be updating us there, I'm sure. Again, I've said this 1,000 times, and I'm sorry, it's annoying. The level of transparency with this company is awesome. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know anyone else that's just been this open about everything. It's like, here you go. We're going to try this. It's going to do something, and we want to share it with you. So I think that's, yeah. Yeah, another one. Proud of you, Julio. Very, very cool. This is a good question here for the next time they do a launch attempt. Off the X asking, will this rocket be flying south after launch? So if so, it will be visible inland. So it's flying southwest. We didn't even talk about this. Well, I think we did, but it's flying at 127 degrees. So it'd be harder to see from, say, Los Angeles. Like when a lot of companies launch from Vandenberg, they fly straight south. So it kind of flies like, you know, if you're looking west in Los Angeles, you can basically see some of those rockets fly right out, you know, right out your window if you're looking west. This is continuing to fly south, so it does get further and further away pretty quickly, almost at a 45-degree angle south. So it would have been probably relatively hard to see compared to other ones. But let's see here. Let me see. It looks like, yeah. Again, yeah, huge. It was awesome that they gave me a rehearsal. I need all the practice I can get with this type of stuff. It's super fun to just be able to just kind of talk about the stuff pretty casually. That's part of what I do. Obviously, is I'm just an average person that just loves this stuff, right? And I have the same questions you guys have. I have the same light bulbs go off when I learn something. I'm like, oh, no way, that's how that works. That's how they start the engine and blah blah blah. So you know, my goal of the entire channel is just to help break this stuff down for you guys, help you come along the journey of learning alongside with me, right? That's the whole point. I'm still learning all this stuff. I'm assuming you guys are still learning all this stuff. I am not an aerospace engineer. I don't even pretend to be one. I am gladly just an aerospace enthusiast that loves to just read and learn as much as possible and help you guys try to understand what made it click for me, what made a certain concept go, oh, I now get that. And lots of times these are, by the way, when I'm learning, guys, I'm oftentimes on the phone with people, just talking, chatting their ear off for like an hour. I've been fortunate enough to have a handful of engineers, actual experts, reach out and say, hey, if you ever need questions answered about this or that, I'll be able to answer anything. That's what I do for a living. So I'll call them and be like, hey, and we'll just talk for an hour. Sometimes it takes me that long sometimes to figure out a certain concept and how to convey it. And once that light bulb goes off, then I can typically try to find how to help convey that to you guys. And that's my whole goal. And you guys obviously help make this possible. So yeah. So Blue Angels, yeah, they were the only ones streaming this, and we just kind of made it work out between the two of us. And I'm honored beyond words that they allowed us to stream this and were this transparent about it. So super, super cool. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is Benchmark Space Systems team logged in from VT in California as Firefly attempts to bring our Starling satellite propulsion demonstrator to space. Thanks, NSL. Yes. We also need to thank the range out there too at Vandenberg Space Force Base for supporting the launch too. A lot of really cool companies and a lot of cool people helped made that launch attempt today possible. Yeah, this is awesome. So this is very cool. Again, I'm loving reading all these. I'm sorry I don't have time to go through all of these. There's really, really, really great questions here and everything. But yeah, this is still very, very cool. Let's see if I'm missing anything here that's really important. But yeah, again, last thing I'm probably going to say here, huge thank you to all of you guys for watching and tuning in and cheering on Firefly for their very first launch attempt ever. This will not be their last. Luckily, like we said, they're working on their next alphas as we speak. And this was great data for them to be able to move forward and make a better rocket in the future. I personally just need to say again, thank you, Firefly, for trusting us to talk casually about stuff. I mean, I could have just straight up said stuff super wrong, and they trusted me to hopefully do my best. We don't have a script or anything. I'm just sitting here spitting what I hope are accurate facts at you guys this whole time. The fact that you guys stuck around too and watched, even with a couple of technical difficulties on our end, I really appreciate it. We had to come up with some really unique solutions to make this happen, from Vandenberg all the way out here to me currently in Iowa. But the good news is there's a lot more coming from me. Like I said, I'm in the middle of editing together my longest and most comprehensive video ever, hardest to make video ever by a landslide, about Soviet rocket engines, the entire family history and family tree of Soviet rocket engines. It's been a massive undertaking, and it's something that I'm extremely proud of. Here, I'll show you guys real quick what this actually looks like here. This is almost coming up on 2 years of research. Oh, it's going to make me log in, so I can't do it there. Hold on 1 second here, Andrew. I'm just going to pull this baby over. What did I do? Here, and go full screen on this. No, not that. I'm such a grandpa with computers sometimes. Jeez. Full screen. I said full screen. I don't even know how to do this anymore. I'm getting too tired to enter full screen. Here we go. Okay, so this is a chart of basically every orbital rocket engine that has come out of the Soviet Union. A lot of these are still flying today, but we went through and literally tracked down the entire history. Every engine that has flown on a different rocket, any orbital rocket basically is mentioned in here. We did leave off like 4 tiny ones that are really weird little rockets that whatever, but this is all the different engines, and this is the evolution. This is the entire family tree of the former Soviet Union. This is why it's so hard to find. There is nothing else like this. It took so long to put all this stuff together. So we're going to be walking you through this entire tree in an over hour and a half long video, explaining kind of just some fun like anecdotes and how they got from one to another. I promise it's actually quite compelling. It's not just going to be me. 20 became the RD-122, and then it became the RD-120. You know, it's not like that. There's a lot of fun stories involved and a lot of really interesting facts in a lot of these engines. So I know you guys are going to love it. And I would only be pursuing crazy videos like this. I'm only pursuing crazy videos like this because I have the support of my Patreon supporters and YouTube members as well. So if you guys want access to our exclusive Discord channel, hi Discord. We've been watching the Discord the whole time. And if you want to also be able to see some previews of videos before they come out, head on over to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That support allows me to work harder on certain things that, like, I would never be pursuing this if I didn't have that freedom to work on something like this for years, you know, for literally years at this point now, and hiring research assistants and hiring, just going all out on this, because I think this stuff is important. I could not find this information literally anywhere. We searched the ends of the earth to find this information, met a lot of really cool people along the way to help fact comprehensive, and I'm really, really excited. So again, there will be a dialogue cut of this hopefully in the next couple days for YouTube members and Patreon supporters. So again, you can click the join button below if you want to become a YouTube member, or if you want to gain our Discord channel, you can also do that by going to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. So thank you to you guys for everything you guys do. You guys are awesome. All right, so again, thank you to everyone that tuned in today. I forgot to do. Normally I do a thing where we give a discount on our on the shirts that I'm wearing here today. If you guys do want, I will actually go ahead and get 10% off of this as soon as I sign off here for our website. If you want to shop around at everydayastronaut.com/shop. We also do have, speaking of Soviet rocket engines, we do have a really, really, really cool new shirt. It is for the R7 Semyorka. It's actually one of the original R7 rockets. This shirt is incredible. Lots of cool details on this one. And technically, Team Space shirt. And I always like, you know, because that's like a mantra of mine, is Team Space. This is our first Team Space shirt. I'm not just going to write Team Space on a shirt and be like, there you go, Team Space. No. that actually says it's basically Cosmos Comrades, which would be like Cosmos Comrades, which is basically the sentiment of Team Space in Russian. So that's the ultimate version of Team Space to me, is including other languages and other cultures. So there you go. That shirt is brand new. We do have that out available now. But this shirt, again, if you use coupon code launch day, all one word, all lowercase, I'll as soon as we get off here, I will make that 10% off in the store. But you can check out the rest of our schematics collection and other cool stuff by going to everydayastronaut.com/shop. Again, that helps support me and allows me to have the teams keep doing cool stuff like providing launch live streams and the awesome website that we have up too. So thank you guys for everyone for tuning in. Again, this was an absolute pleasure. This was a real honor for me to be able to rocket launch. I never in a million years would have thought this would have happened. I never in a million years would have thought I could do this without working for the company, right? I never would have imagined that a company would reach out and just want us to help share their story and provide launch coverage for them. So it really, really means a lot. It means a lot to me. And I'm so proud of Firefly for being this transparent and for showing this launch and sharing this launch with the world and trusting me to do that for them. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I think the next launch I'll be doing live will be Inspiration 4 on September 15th. That'll be you can't miss that mission. The first all private citizen mission going into orbit, not just going up into space, but going into space for 3 days, actually going into orbit. It'll be a really big deal riding on a Falcon 9 and the incredible Crew Dragon. I will be streaming that one. And yeah, that'll be an awesome launch to see. I am planning to stream that one in person. We still have to kind of make a game plan for that. We've been so focused on this one. And again, stay tuned for more progress on the Soviet rocket engine video. But that is going to do it for me. Yeah, I just don't even want to sign off because, okay, that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.